All right, everybody, and welcome back to a special Wednesday edition. Although it seems like these Wednesday editions are starting to get a bit less special and start a little bit more common edition of Show Choir Nation. I'm your host, William. Alongside me is my co-host, Ethan, and we are coming off of quite the weekend, and we are heading into quite the weekend.
Yeah, busy, and then you hit an extreme downhill slope of not being as busy. So, just appreciating every single moment we get the past 2 weeks. I feel like a lot is happening, and I'm missing it just because of how busy we are. Like, in the beginning of the season, you kind of clutch on, or you kind of clatch on to like everything that's happening. I feel like I'm kind of losing my step here and there in terms of that. However, there's just so much going on, a lot of good things. It's like, what was it like the season? Like, we were previewing it 2 weeks ago or a week ago, and we were like, Clinton season's over after this weekend, and I'm like, I couldn't tell. Like, I know they won, but it was like I couldn't tell you who they gone up against. Like, I feel like I'm just missing it. And like, of course, Clinton season's always going to flash, but regardless, I feel like a lot of people like broke through this weekend, and thank goodness we were at one of the premier competitions of the whole year. Had a great time, William. I'm guessing you had a great time as well. How's Mount Zion as a whole? This is your first Mount Zion Midwest Invitational. You've been to a few Illinois comps this year, been a little exposed to it. New competition this year. It wasn't your first time at Mount Zion. You went to the Illinois Central Show Choir preview show. No, it was
All-State.
All-State, yeah, it was
Central Illinois Show Choir preview has not existed for a while.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why my brain went there. It just did. But Illinois State, so it wasn't your first time in the auditorium. However, with a packed house, how was your experience, Will?
It was phenomenal. I loved it. Beautiful, beautiful venue at Mount Zion High School. Great hospitality. The volunteers were absolutely on point. The choirs were absolutely on point. It's one thing to talk about a boring show choir competition. It's another thing entirely to talk about a show choir competition where each group is just continually going up. And then there's like a very rare like miss. And then you're like, wow, everyone else here is just so good. So yeah, I did not take care of myself in terms of sleep, even into the early part of this week. So we're still struggling a bit on that front. We'll see if we have to cut this show early for my bedtime. But besides that, I had a great experience.
Time change didn't help, clearly.
No, it did not.
It did not help me at all, which that's 2 years in a row now where it's just hit me like a truck. So yeah, today was kind of even Wednesday is a little recovery day for me. So
yeah, there was definitely a Mountain Dew in my hand on the way into work this morning. And usually I only dip into the Mountain Dew if I really am dragging, because I always get a good breakfast in. I always get a hot shower in the morning. And then if neither of those two things do it for me, I grab a can of Mountain Dew on my way out the door. And today was one of those Mountain Dew days. So we're struggling a little bit, but we made it. And again, going in, we had 6 of the top 100 choirs as ranked by Homeroom Show Choir in the country at Mount Zion. We had several single gender choirs who were ranked in their regions. There was just a lot going on. Do we want to briefly touch on Friday night before we jump into Saturday?
Yeah, just a little Spark Notes version of Friday night. It was a blast. I'm actually so glad that we were able to do commentary for both nights. However, like Friday night, it was a little bit special because these are groups you have no idea what to expect from. Like, no idea. I mean, it's just so hard to get caught into a middle school show choir scene unless they do something crazy like Lake Forest did a few weeks ago. However, we have seen Brandon just absolute go on a tear. Both groups have been doing fantastic. El Paso is a fantastic group. So glad that they made it, even though that their mixed group went to Quincy. So glad we got to experience dynamics. Edison, always an amazing choir to watch, because they're one of those choirs in Illinois where it's like I don't get to see a lot of, because they only go to like 3 competitions. So it's really great to see them. Of course, it was Dwight choreography and all. Being a Dwight stan, it's super cool to see. Yeah, and then you just keep going down the list. It was just a great time, and it was just amazing to see. Oh, Troy. I don't know why I was blinking so hard. Troy, the other choir there. I mean, we're to that point.
We are to that point.
Yeah, it was just a fantastic showing by all these choirs, and we said it on live stream. It was like, well, you see why Brandon's show choir program is just getting better and better and better every year. And then you see how El Paso is able to maintain crazy numbers for a high school of 300,
Crazy numbers.
400 kids. So, like, because they put 19 guys on stage in junior high. Now, that is 5th through 8th. I feel like that's what was on our show sheet.
Yes. Yep. It is 4 grades instead of 2 or 3 some other places.
I mean, still, they don't have that much kids. So the fact they're getting 5th graders in it and they're still that good and growing that program is phenomenal. Troy Middle and Troy South Middle coming together, always put on amazing shows. Are always so strong and so fun. I barely remember anything like show wise besides like really like keynotes. Someone did Golden by Alan Stone. This is where we are. Someone did a weather show. I think it was the same show. I think Brandon Boom did the weather show.
I believe that's right.
Edison did the 5 senses, which was super cool because we even said on stream, it was like, have we seen a show like this? And I don't.
It was at least new to us.
Yeah, like it was super cool because you could almost do any song selection if it somehow fit the 5 senses. So I thought they did an amazing job with that. And yeah, and this is where it gets really weird. I don't remember anything. Oh, I mean, Brandon brought out their screens. I remember that.
Yep.
Don't see any middle schools with screens. So
no,
that was a keynote that I remember. But yeah, honestly, the way those results went out, I mean, you could have picked any
it was a tight race between the top 3 or top 4.
I was gonna say the top 4 choirs, any one of them could have won that competition. I'm happy for Brandon Blitz though, coming out on top, especially traveling this far. I mean, the 3rd comp they've traveled to the Midwest for, crazy as a middle school choir, insane. However, they packed their bags and they're taking a trophy back with them. So, congrats to Brandon on 2 fantastic shows in the middle school. And then everyone else had an amazing showing.
I don't really have much more to add on to that. I honestly have lost the plot of the few of the shows already.
I know
some of those later shows. I'm so sorry to Troy Middle School for completely forgetting what
because they went last.
And I do have to shout out Mount Zion Sound System because my sister, there's one show Friday night that she let me know about, and it was Mount Zion Sound System. So even though they weren't competing, a shout out to Mount Zion Sound System for being my sister's favorite, which certainly counts for something.
I love that. I mean, the ballad soloist and the tiny voice is just like truly like just perfect for a middle school ballad. So I've come around on their show, seen a preview show. You're kind of like, well, let's see where this is gonna go. However, they've exploded this season, and they're getting to wrap it up at Wheaton, which we'll be previewing after this recap. So.
Let's head on into Saturday. We started bright and early. Us on the stream, our producers, Dylan and Jacob. We all got up. We all made it there. And we had quite the single gender division. There were 6 different groups in the single gender division. And I really appreciate that even though there was no single gender finals here, everybody who had a single gender group to bring still brought them. There was none of this, oh, well, we're going to go, but we're only going to bring one group. Like the only 2 programs that only had one group there were Grenada and Spain Park. And those are because those programs just have one group at the high school level. And I think it would be ridiculous to expect Grenada to bring Grenada Middle School entertainers up or for Spain Park to bring Simmons Synergy up. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So the single gender division, the full results of this one: in 6th place, Glenwood Titan Flame; in 5th place, Neosho Phenomenon; in 4th place, Neosho Sugar and Spice; in 3rd place, Brandon Bellis; in 2nd place, Wheaton Warrenville South Esprit; and in 1st place with best vocals and best choreography, Loveland High School Allure. We don't need to go through every single group per se, but what are some of the highlights? What are some of the sweeping thoughts that you have from the single gender division?
Just wow. Because I mean, just seeing the single gender division, it was a blessing, especially because I never get to see any of these groups really. I mean, yes, we have 2 Illinois groups, and I somehow ran into Brandon 3 times, watching their show 3 times this year, or no, 2 times. But like I never see a Neosho show. Very rare for me unless they go up to Troy. never see a Loveland Allure show. Never, never, never. Some just tepid thoughts, just touching on every single group. Glenwood Titan Flame, they came out here, and I thought they did an amazing job because it's the first time as a single gender choir this season. This is their second year as a choir, though. They were a prep last year. However, stepping into a field like this, super hard to do. I think their one flaw was just connecting with the band. I felt like there was some, being that early in the day, it's super hard to do. But the band was touch and go with them, allowing them to mesh really well. And there was just some points where it was like, oh, they're a little off here and there. However, I did thought at the end of their show, they really wrapped it up and put a nice bow on things, and they finished a very strong show. Neo Show phenomenon. I mean, what is there not to say? Fantastic show. In the beginning, I didn't know where the show was going. I thought it was just going to be like, oh, a workout show, and then they started talking about dodgeball, and I was like, there's no way it's a dodgeball show. Highlight of their show.
Yes way. There was a dodgeball show.
There's a lot of highlights of their show, but the balls coming out of the stands or the audience from, I'm guessing Sugar and Spice, or Corlears, whatever one, balls just coming out, and they catch the dodgeball, and then they start doing ball choreography. And I'm like, wait, where did these come from? Like, you look away for 1 second, and they were doing great ball choreography. Sugar and Spice was super strong. But I mean, seeing them fourth and fifth is kind of not funny, but a little bit funny, because I can see how these two choirs go head to head all the time. Like, just constantly one placing above the other, so on and so forth, because it is really tight. And I thought Neo Show really brought their A game in both of their choirs in the single clef division. And that's also just a super, super hard thing to do. So shout out to the band for performing multiple times in the day. Going first, going last, it's just woof. But I mean, that's what you sign up for when you are Neo Show, bringing two single gender groups. Brandon Bella's second time I've seen their show, Bridezilla, amazing. I thought it was a huge step up from 3 weeks ago at Chesterton. I think they really got their feet under them, and I thought they finished the show very, very, very well. Soloists are amazing every single time. Every single time I watch it, I'm like, okay, they clearly have a lot of talent on stage. This placement, it's just not surprising because I thought the top two groups really, really brought it. However, Brandon Bellas is such a strong choir, and they should be really proud of themselves. Wheaton Spree in the second spot. Now, I actually, after the end of the day, I knew Loveland would be neck and neck with Spree in my mind in the single gender single clef division. However, I gave the nod to Wheaton just because maybe I've seen their show so many times that I was just like, okay, their excellence and the way they do things might just carry over. And, when you watch a show for the first time, like Love and Allure, I'm just sitting back, like, taking it all in. Like, I thought Wheaton Warrenville South Spree's vocals and choreography was very, very strong throughout. The band is always rocking. I think we had Chris Miller on the guitar. Or no, that was Friday night with Edison.
That was Friday night. Yep.
Yep. that was another thing I remember. Friday night, Chris Miller was on the guitar. The one thing that kind of happened that really caught everyone's eye was the runway slipping and falling, and I have no idea how the second girl made it across. Like it was literally bouncing up and down. The second girl somehow made it across, and I was like, wow, like that is really impressive on her part. And then the fact, like, cause they come out on the runway and they do their own choreography, right? So I thought they did a really good job, like improvising, the girls did, on standing there and doing their choreography in such a tight space, because there's like 8 girls or so in that really, really tight space. I thought they improvised well. However, you always want to put on the best show for your last competitive show, and little mistakes like that they really couldn't control, right? It just sucks. It really does. I don't think it tarnished their performance at all. I thought it was still a very, very good show and could contend for the first spot. However, Love and Allure, amazing show. It really was. After seeing it the first time, I was like, I just need to see it again. And I mean, my answers were kind of prayed there. Or my prayers were answered there. Loveland Allure really brought it. I thought their show was fantastic. It was energetic. Loveland does a certain things where they just know how to finish shows. It's really in their DNA. It's like the show can go whatever style, whatever mood, but at the very end, it's like boom, like smoke machines, lights, risers are lighting up, amazing dance break, choreography out the wazoo. It is just a party at Loveland at the end of shows, and I thought they really brought it vocally in the beginning, and then they end it very well in the end in the show design with Wrecking Ball just being, oh my goodness, Wrecking Ball was maybe one of the highlights of the whole night when they went in finals. Best vocals and best choreography, like I said, I thought it could have went any way with Wheaton Esprit and Loveland. However, Loveland truly did bring their A game here.
I think the other thing about Loveland is that they were the first group of the day that was in that doubler territory, because the first two groups of the day were Neosho Phenomenon, which I guess is a doubler group, but you only have 13. It's hard to make a ton of noise.
Yeah.
And Neosho Sugar and Spice, which at least to the best of my knowledge is a pretty true JV style group, where there are not a ton of performers that double up in core leaders as well. And Loveland Allure really kicked off the stretch run of single gender groups where a good portion of the performers are also in the mixed group as well. So that was something that, at least in prelims, I think Loveland Allure had going for them. It certainly made me flip my mindset to be like, okay, we're playing for keeps now. And I think if they, like you said, they just kind of had the whole package. And then some. They had smoke machines. They had dubstep dance breaks. They had kind of the whole shebang. And I say shebang instead of package because it was a little bit more. It was a little bit extra. Again, like, I just want to reiterate, Brandon Bell is certainly an improved show from 3 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think they kind of got gobbled up in the mix at Chesterton. And it was definitely improved. Was it to the level of the first or second place groups in the division? Probably not. But you have to understand that not every show is going to be the first or second place show in its division. And so the progress out of Bellas, I think that is consolation enough for them. I know that even after their prelims performance, some people were still thinking that they had a shot at that final spot. Obviously, that didn't pan out. And I think even people from Esprit thought that they had a final shot, and that didn't pan out. And I don't even know if people from Allure thought that they had a final shot. Maybe I just didn't talk to enough people from Loveland during the daytime.
Yeah, I'm completely honest. I thought the only way a single gender group was getting into finals was it was going to be Esprit. Just going into the competition. So when they announced Loveland Allure as the champion of the division, I was like, okay, that's going to allow 6 varsity mixed choirs. And then they announced Allure straight again for them to get in, and I was like, wow, like they really, really brought it. And before you go back to your point, I just want to say one last thing on the single gender. Like, I never knew how into, like, I'm trying to word this the right way. They have fan bases just for these single gender groups. That's kind of where I'm going. Like, there are people who deep dive and just love these groups. I feel like we got approached by more parents from single gender groups than from the varsity mixed groups, because they were like, well, first off, they loved what we were doing, but how passionate and how much love that they had for their single gender choirs. And I think that was like the most I've been exposed to ever until this competition, really. Because I mean, this, when I was back in choir, I was like, okay, single gender goes on in the morning, whatever. Then it's like the real show began. No, the real show began right away, and people were the bottom of the auditorium, because we couldn't see the top, we couldn't see the balcony, was basically almost filled for almost every group. And I thought that was really cool to see.
Absolutely. There's just stories here, there, and everywhere in the single gender division. And that's another thing that I just absolutely loved about it. Also, of course, made for an electric prelim award performance as well. Any closing thoughts that you want to have on these single gender shows?
Yeah, I mean, we just have a comment from Loveland, which says, "Hey, I'm from Loveland Allure. We actually don't have doublers.
Oh,
thank you guys for the sweet comments."
Well, I don't know where I got that from.
That just shows how big that
I was very
Loveland
clearly
program
mistaken.
is. That Loveland program's huge, then. Ginormous.
Hot dang.
Not one doubler?
Yeah, I apologize for that. I hereby retract my previous statement.
Dang, not having one doubler is insane.
Yes. And it makes it all the more impressive of a feat, right? When you're competing with and beating multiple varsity level programs without any kids who are in the quote unquote varsity group at that school. So obviously that just makes that all the more impressive. And I've never, ever once in my life said that I want to go to Ohio, and I'm not going to say it tonight. But it makes me curious about going to Ohio if Allure is right in the mix with all of these other Ohio girls groups like
Yeah.
Fairfield Pure Elegance and Marysville Swinger Select and Grove City
Mhm.
Class Act and even the Olentangy She Notes and groups
Yeah.
like that, to see just more of these single gender divisions,
Yeah.
because
No, I
it was
completely
worth the
agree with
price
you.
of admission in the morning alone.
Yeah, and I mean, I competed at
When I
Marysville.
competed at Twinsburg and Medina
Oh, I forgot
and
about Twinsburg.
went to
But
go
yeah,
watch Loveland.
but like Marysville, it was during the COVID year, so I couldn't see any of these groups besides like on a screen, and we had to leave. Loveland, I went as a spectator, and I wasn't there for the single clef division. So I just
Oh.
missed. Yeah, well, that's a long drive, and I just missed it. I wasn't gonna wake up that
Oh,
early.
come on, that's only about 5 hours.
Yeah, sorry guys, I wasn't gonna wake up earlier than I needed to, so I missed that. And I don't think I really watched any at Twinsburg. So it was like I think the only time I've ever caught Love and Allure was at Franklin Community 2019. But I mean that's still a question mark because it feels so long ago. So like I have some experience, but literally none. So thank goodness that they came to this competition. They showed out, and I mean, like we said on the live stream, that like how Ohio has just been going neck and neck. Like it's insane. Like do the research because these choirs are constantly beating each other every other week. Like Olentangy will have their week, Marysville will have their week. It just keeps going on and on and on. Yeah, and the fact that they came here and won just shows you again how strong Ohio is. So
It was kind of a full circle moment for me personally in regards to Allure, because the only Allure show I'd ever seen was 2020 when they came to Sauk Prairie. And I was also at Sauk Prairie in a group that was certainly not up to the level that Allure was that year. But Allure was 7th overall in prelims, and like it's close, like fractions of a point. Let me see if I can pull the point margin and see if it's in the comments section of the showchoir.com event,
that'd be crazy.
because I feel like it was on a 100-point scale, and I feel like it was less than a point that they missed by. But going with this, it was really awesome and spectacular to see Allure make the finals at a competition again where it's overall finals. There's no single gender finals, and being able to show that they can absolutely play with all of the big groups. Okay, it does not look like the prelim scores were posted, just the placements, but again, a great full circle moment for me with the, I don't want to say like getting the short end of it, but just where they were and then where they were again, and being able to make it again this time. Do we want to talk about the prep division?
Yeah, we can.
All right. Yeah, Spain Park and Troy Buchanan Soundwave.
Yeah, so first off, my first thing on Troy Buchanan Soundwave is that like, now I get it. You are a prep group and all that stuff, but they were using some old arrangements from old Express years, and I was like, for me personally, I was like, yes, because I mean, I love those arrangements. I really do. Like, what's that song? I do my head, Tom, check my nails, baby. How you feeling?
Baby, how you feeling?
Yes.
Yeah.
They did that mix with Happy by Fred Hammond, and it's like one of my all-time favorite show choir arrangements. Because Troy, I don't know what year it was, but they were so good doing it. Like they embellished it, they loved it. So seeing that come back this many years later was like just like almost like a full circle moment. I was like, wait, this was a Troy song. Wait, Troy's performing it. Different group, but same school. I thought they went out and they killed it. I thought they actually beat some of my expectations because I only got to see like half of their show at their host performance. Like seeing the back half that early in the year, it's a little wobbly. It is what it is. Because usually you get to the back half later than the front half. So seeing that like the full thing on display was super, super cool. This is not gonna be the last competition, as we will be previewing them in the Wheaton Warrenville South Classics. However, I think this is like just a huge step for them before that competition. However, they are in the large mixed division. So, I mean, things just get way tougher. However, I think they could shock some people if they're not ready for it. I thought they had an amazing outing. Yeah, Troy Soundwave really brought it. And then, I mean, Spain Park.
Can I just throw in a couple thoughts about Troy Soundwave?
Yes, for sure.
It was so great to see a big prep group where, because a lot of schools have single gender groups, right? But not a ton of schools have big, huge mixed prep groups where you have handfuls and handfuls of guys in addition to the guys that you have in the top group. And to me, that is a sign of an incredibly healthy program when not only do you have girls lining up out the door and into the parking lot to get into your show choir program, but you also have enough guys interested. And in today's day and age, having 40 guys at your school who are interested in show choir, I don't care how big your school is. You could be Troy with 2,300 kids in your school. And I am still so excited for you to have 40 guys who are interested in show choir. So it reminds me of some of the groups I saw way back in my day, around when I was a freshman and sophomore in high school. And it was a lot easier to get more people interested in show choir at your school. So it just warmed my heart to see Troy Soundwave.
Yeah. And then we have the winner.
Yes, we do.
Spain Park. Going back to Troy Buchanan, I'm happy that we'll be able to see them again. Just because, like, this is gonna be the last one. This is gonna be the last one for them. So to see how well they do in a stacked division, it's gonna be so hard for them to make noise. However, they can make that kind of noise. So I'm excited to see it. Spain Park from Alabama. Amazing. They was a choir that, like, seriously was felt like inches away from a finals appearance somehow. We've had after the show, before we went live on our live stream, we had multiple people come over to us like, I think that's a final show. I truly do. It was a lot of people who told us that. And I was like, I completely agree with you, only because of, I thought the way that they carried themselves on stage was just a different demeanor than a lot of people, especially the guys. I thought the guys out there were just so strong and they moved very, very well. And I thought vocally they carried their part extremely well. And maybe that's just because this season, I feel like vocals have taken a little bit of a dip just from groups I've seen around the country. However, it's they came in here, I had no expectations, and they blew me out of the water. First off, costumes were amazing. I really like the palette that they used across the board. It's a really cool picture. You can never go wrong with a bow tie and and a blazer, right? You can never go wrong.
It was a very classic show choir look.
It was great. And I mean, even afterwards, when their director was able to come and talk to us on the live stream, was super, super cool.
Shout out Mr. Tidwell. Phenomenal man.
And explaining how this transition year for them, has been so different and so unique. And I mean, it was kind of cool to hear him say, after that first competition, we were like, yeah, we can do this. We can compete in a varsity mixed. I know they didn't hear, however, they were very close to making finals at this competition, in my opinion. Super close. I am a Spain Parker for life. I said that during the live stream. I feel like there's many choirs that I'm now huge fans of. And will always be rooting for Spain Park from Alabama.
For sure. I think it's very interesting. And it's true that you bring it up, that we had people come up to us after that show and being like, boy, I think that's a finals show. Personally, just because of the glass half empty guy that I kind of am, I was a little bit more skeptical. And I was like, well, we haven't even seen any of these varsity shows yet. I think it was a little bit premature to be having that conversation. But I mean, when you look at the overall placements for prelims, Spain Park was 8th, and which means that they'd be every single gender group besides Loveland Allure. So I think that absolutely shows you that while I wasn't ready to say that yet, I don't think the people who said that were too far off in saying that. I think for better or worse, okay with them competing in the prep division. I think coming in on paper, I don't know if it sat right with me that they had competed in large mixed all year. I mean, they were 3rd a couple times. I think they were 5th once. They were making finals on the regular down south.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come up here. I say here as in a relative term. They come up to the Midwest because that's the region of the earth that I'm from.
Yes.
And they compete in prep. And I didn't know if that sat right with me going into it. But after seeing their show, I think it did sit right with me because I think, and I say this in the sweetest, most respectful way possible, you could tell that they are still in the process of growing into being a large mixed group.
Yeah.
Show choir is not supposed to be a scary thing. That's been one of my favorite phrases this season. A shout out, the man with two hands in a plan, Bradley Davis, for coining that phrase. But you could tell that those kids, it was going to be, they had a challenge placed in front of them of, you were a middle mixed group last year. You are now a large mixed group, and there just is no turning back from that. And you could see that they were still in the process of meeting that challenge. And so I thought the prep division was a good place for them to be while they are kind of finishing up that journey and wrapping up kind of their transitional year as a large mixed group. And really, like you said, Ethan, classic show choir look, classic novelty show with the gibberish. I feel so bad for the MCs that had to read that opening.
And what did they do? They did Shabuzi. Or no, not Shabuzi.
Shakupi.
Shabuzi, Shakupi.
We ain't talking about Shabuzi on this show.
My bad, guys. Yeah, sorry. That was Shabuzi. The first thing.
Call the number if you have
problems. Somebody play that Shabuzi. No. Like, I thought, like, it was. I've never seen a gibberish show, so that was another thing that was just super cool to me. Like, I thought the songs that they used were like almost like perfect. I thought it was like it was all over the place because that's what it's supposed to be. That's what gibberish is. And I thought they embellished that, and it was like perfect, and it was great. It was a great show.
Well, Wheaton Warrenville South Esprit did something tangentially related to this last year with commonly misunderstood phrases.
I thought it was names.
Yeah, commonly misunderstood names.
Yeah.
But so I guess, okay, the two nickels meme doesn't even work here. I don't think they're a little bit too far apart.
Just a little too far apart.
There are plenty of other instances to make the two nickels meme.
Yeah,
but yeah, Spain Park again. I don't know if I had seen a show from a mixed show from Alabama because I saw Homewood Nexus on March 1st. But in terms of seeing a mixed show from Alabama, I don't know if I had seen any of those yet. And so thank you, Spain Park, for being my first taste of Alabama show choir. And I absolutely believe that this program has the potential to maybe not be Homewood level in a couple of years, but I absolutely see them being Auburn level in a couple of years with the right pieces. And I mean, they are at enterprise level already. So I would say we're at enterprise level. The next level to shoot for would be Auburn level, and then way up there is Homewood level. But I absolutely think this is a group that can be Auburn level in a couple of years. And then we have the mixed division. Do we want to talk placements first, or do we want to talk thoughts about shows first and then go on to the placements?
I mean, do whatever you please. I'm along for the ride on this one.
All right. Well, at this point, we'll take a bit of a jog out of our usual rambling, and we will talk about overall placements in prelims. And this is a pretty interesting one. I actually lied on the stream for those of you who are watching it live, and I feel terrible about it because the one thing I said is I know this competition is not a Condorcet scored competition. I think it's either board account or ordinal consensus, but I know it's not Condorcet. And then it turned out that prelims are scored using Condorcet, and I was like, wow, that was not my finest moment. But the interesting thing about Condorcet, for those of you not from the South, is that all groups go into the scoring. And then the divisional placements that you see are simply how the divisions sorted out on the overall sheet. So in this case, like the 6th place group was a single gender group. So then in the mixed standings, you just elevate the 7th place group to 6th place. But you're competing against everybody in Condorcet, which I think for those of you who are used to something like a raw points just in division or even something like a board account, it does bring a bit of an extra dimension to the game. So there were 15 prelim competitors. In 15th place for the day was Glenwood Titan Flame, 14th Neo Show Phenomenon, 13th Neo Show Sugar and Spice, 12th Troy Buchanan Soundwave, 11th Glenwood Titan Fever, and 10th Brandon Bellas. So those are 5 of the 6 single gender groups and then one of the 2 mixed prep groups. Spain Park was in. Wait, hold on. No. Wait. Yeah, I think I said it right. Glenwood Titan Flame in 15th, Neosho Phenomenon in 14th, Neosho Sugar and Spice 13th, Troy Buchanan Soundwave 12th, Brandon Bell is 11th, Wheaton Warrenville South Esprit in 10th. So 5 of your 6 single gender groups, and then 1 of your 2 prep groups. In 9th overalls was Glenwood Titan Fever. So that would be your 7th place mixed varsity group. In 8th place was Spain Park Rhapsody in Blue. So that was your prep division winner. In 7th was Neosho Corliers. So that would be your top group that did not make finals. In 6th was Loveland Allure. In 5th, Loveland by Request. In 4th, Wheaton Warrenville South the Classics. In 3rd, Troy Buchanan Express. In 2nd, Brandon Brio. And in 1st place, Grenada Visions. The interesting thing about this is that there were 4 different categories on the score sheet, or 4 different groups of categories, because obviously you have your subcategories and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you had vocals, you had visuals, you had band, and then you had presentation, which is kind of comparable to an overall effects caption. The interesting thing is that no group won more than 1 category in prelims. So Grenada was the 1st place group overall. They were 3rd in vocals, 1st in visuals, 3rd in band, and 4th in presentation. Brandon was your 2nd place group. They were 4th in vocals, 2nd in visuals, 5th in band, and 1st in presentation. Troy Buchanan was your 3rd place group. They were 1st in vocals, 5th in visuals, 2nd in band, and 2nd in presentation. Wheaton Warrenville South the Classics were your 4th place group. They were 2nd in vocals, 3rd place in choreography, 1st place in band, and 2nd place in presentation. So Ethan, just taking a quick detour before we get way too far into the weeds on the numbers of scores. Obviously, just talking about the top 4 right now. We'll go to 5, 6, 7 a little bit later. Just talking about the top 4. Just a crazy spread, and also, do these kind of match up with what you perceived the strengths of different choirs to be?
It's a really good question, because I feel like there's many answers to this question. I feel like I can jump around like the Easter Bunny on different things, and I probably will end up be doing that. So starting with vocals, first was Troy, right?
Yes.
I thought in the beginning of their show they sing crazy well, like insane levels. I think that the way they finished their show in prelims gave them a boost. I really do, because what they do visually is super energy taxing. Like they barely, like, I'm surprised they walked off the stage afterwards. How much they were still singing and still moving at that high of a level. I really thought they brought it. However, I mean, in the day, now Grenada and Brandon, I thought really did bring it vocally. But I mean, I thought Wheaton vocally was really, really strong as well. Like, now again, this is a show I've seen like 4 times now. So that's probably just me being like, yep, they did it again. Like, they just did great, because I mean, once you see excellence so many times, you just get so used to it. So that's just kind of how it is. I thought like they have a different kind of vocal technique than Troy, where Troy was like all go all the time, just constantly push it. And Wheaton is just more of a like, let's slowly build this thing until the very last second, and then boom, let's hit it real strong. 2 different styles. However, I thought like that had to be super close. And then of course the 2 Southern groups were very, very good vocally as well. Visuals is kind of where I was a little surprised. Only because I thought Troy Buchanan Express really brought it. Almost everything was kind of flipped, like caption wise for me. Like I kind of thought like the groups who did really well in visuals did really good in vocals. The groups who did very good in vocals did really good in visuals. I thought it was going to be Wheaton just because of how clean they were. However, I thought Grenada was going to be right there with them. Not only because I thought Grenada's blocking and the way they created a picture with so many moving parts with props and like this, like they implemented so many different things with screens. And like, I don't know if we'll go deep dive into their show in a little bit. However, like, they do so many different little things that are so unique, and I think it gave them a really big jump in the visual category. Wheaton was just really clean, like just straightforward, just amazing clean show. Brandon, I thought, was head over heels where they were at Chesterton, visually. I was like, okay, this is a completely different show. They really tightened it up. Just a great show, and I'm not surprised by like the overall like performance aspect of it or presentation. I thought it was gonna be Brandon out of the get go just because of how well like they use those screens and their lighting. And I mean, it's just such a fun show, and it flows very, very well with all the different artists they do. I thought I thought Grenada was going to be 2. Were they 2? That's where I was surprised. They were tied. They were 4th. So
In presentation, yeah.
yes, yeah, I'm not in band. I'm in presentation. They were in 4th, and I was actually kind of surprised by that. I thought they could have been 2. Troy jumped up in that spot. However, very well deserved. Them and Wheaton actually tied, which is actually kind of cool because they're almost 2 completely different shows. However, it just shows kind of what the judges preferred in that way. And then band, I mean, maybe the caption of the day, because I felt like every single show I was bumping to, like out of the get-go, like I was like, every single band here is phenomenal. And I mean, hearing Wheaton's band so many times, I thought I was going to give them the edge. And they did grab the caption. I just love how crazy it is. Truly, just looking at it on paper and seeing like not one group won each like won multiple categories. That just shows how amazing of a competition this is. And I mean, thank goodness like we could see score sheets like this. I mean, we don't always get them. So very blessed to get this like kind of thing, and seeing it like this, you're like, wow. It just confirms that we saw a one of one competition Saturday.
Yes, we did. You shared a lot of good thoughts about the top 4. I think most of the other thoughts that I have, I'm going to share for when we kind of dive deep into each show individually.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about 5, 6, 7. Loveland by request, 5th in vocals, 4th in visuals, 5th in band, 5th in presentation. Loveland Allure, 7th in vocals, 6th in visuals, 9th in band, 6th in presentation. Neosho Coraliers, 6th in vocals, 10th in visuals, 10th in band, 7th in presentation. And I'll just kind of take the lead on this one a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll start at 7 and kind of work the way up. A lot of people were pretty flabbergasted when Neosho did not make finals. And I think I would count myself in a little bit bemused, perhaps not shocked, because I knew the margin was going to be pretty close. But at least a little bit like, I think they were probably in my personal top 6, which is why I'm not on the judges table. But when you look at a couple of these ranks, 6th in vocals, I thought vocally they were right there. You just run into an absolute brick wall when you're going up against groups like Wheaton Warrenville South and Troy, who were your 1 and 2 groups. But even groups like Grenada, Brandon, and Loveland, who were your 3, 4, 5 in vocals, they are all still very vocally strong groups. And you can match them. And Neosho was right there in 6th, but it takes a ton to surpass them. And ultimately what Neosho was looking for was to kind of have an ace shot in a category that could really propel him. And what it unfortunately just didn't happen for him. 6th in vocals, they were right there. 10th in visuals. I think if I had to say a couple things about their visuals lacked at times the high-end moments that pretty much everyone else had on the visual side of things. It was obviously a brand of choreography that was very unique to them. They used Casey Christensen this year, who is a very, very regional choreographer. In fact, he will be retiring at the end of the season, so I wish him a happy retirement. I have word that Neosho will be bringing in a choreographer who spans a bit more of the show choir world than just Missouri. So we will most likely be seeing a defined visual style change out of Coraliers next year. And I'll let them say who that is when the time comes. But their visuals, it kind of lumped together at times a little bit, and it lacked just the boom, knock your socks off, like not even 8 counts, like 4 counts that almost every other group had, where they hit a combo of like 3, 4, 5 moves and you're like, wow, that was incredible. That must have taken hours to clean. The other thing is that I'm not qualified to judge bands. I have no idea if their band was the 10th place band, but they were 10th place in band as well. And obviously, band is not as big of a category as vocals or visuals, but it certainly does not help when you score 10th in any category, even if they were 6th in vocals and 6th in visuals. A 10th in band, depending on what the factor of the band was, might have been enough to knock them out entirely. And again, I am not a band guy. I have a ton of respect for band people, so I can't really say anything about the band. 7th overall in presentation. Again, kind of like the vocals category, they showed that they were right there. I would argue that that was a pretty fair place for them to be in the presentation category, because when you look at the number one group in presentation, which was Brandon, their flair is unmatched. I don't think anyone was beating them in that category. Troy, Wheaton, and Grenada, your 2, 3, 4 in that category. You had such a range there, from Grenada's elaborate screens and movable set pieces to Wheaton's one simple backdrop, but also combining costumes and things like that. All incredibly solid groups there. Loveland by request with a backdrop, with props, also with some staging, and then Loveland Allure with their dolly show and everything that went along with it. I really enjoyed Neosho's costumes, and I believe that costumes went into presentation. I believe that costumes were not in the visuals, although I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe costumes went in presentation, so that was something that I really had going for them. They had a backdrop as well, which I thought was nice. They had no screens, which personally I really liked, so I would put them above Brandon in that category because I'm a screen hater, and I will be forever. So it's just a tough deal, and I know they had a lot of eyes on them. Is coming out from a region that nobody really talks about because they're just better than everyone else, and they sweep up all the wins. And Webb City doesn't really get out a ton. Carthage doesn't really get out a ton. Joplin doesn't really get out a ton. Neosho is the one who kind of does this, and they had a lot resting on themselves. And certainly I would say it was a great performance. Obviously the margin is razor thin. And so I certainly don't think that anyone from Neosho should be like disappointed in the way they performed or anything like that. But again, when you go 6, 10, 10, 7, unless the point spread was wonky and your 6 was a big gap and your 10, your 10, your 7 was tight, you're just not going to make it on that. Anything you want to finish that out with?
I thought you touched on a lot of key points. Now I'm not a band guy. I mean, I love bands. Like, if you have a killer band, I know. But like to be like, little points apart, I can't really say anything on that. However, like on vocals, visuals, and presentation, that's kind of where I had them. I mean, I thought, now I have to give them so much credit because again, I don't see so many Neosho shows. Them, when they come out and they hit that first note, my jaw was on the ground. Like, it really hit the table. Me and Will, like, looked at each other as soon as it happened, and we were like, "No way!"
This group is for real.
Like, there's no way they just pulled that out of their bag. Like, that first note, and we were like, if they could keep this up,
and they didn't like crescendo into a note or anything. Like,
they just hit it.
First eighth note of the phrase was just
a
right
wall.
There.
It was a sharp razor wall. You just get smacked right in the face with it. And then they kept it like throughout the whole show. Their ballads were their ballad was probably one of my favorite ones too. I know we've heard the song 3 times throughout the day. However, like, I thought their rendition of it was beautiful. I thought they did an amazing job. Was that the rendition with the saxophone player? I think it was. I could be confusing it with another, but I think that was
yes, it was.
Player. I love that part because it was completely different from the other renditions we heard of it. I thought the ballad soloist was phenomenal. Like,
can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
This is more for the old heads out there, but I think that What Was I Made For has sneaky potential to be another like Wings-esque song where a lot of people do it in year one after it comes out. For those of you who were not around back then, the song Wings by the British girl pop band Little Mix. Everybody did it in 2014 and 2015. Everybody did it. And if you go on showchoir.com, there's a record of at least one group doing it every single year up until the present year. Like there have been no gaps in Wings hitting the stage. And I think What Was I Made For kind of hits that sweet spot as well in terms of a very popular pop song. You don't really need to do too much to the original arrangement to make it a ballad. And also it is incredibly versatile as a ballad. And if you're a show designer, you're like, it's a song that the kids know. It's a song that we're not going to have to, the arranger is not going to bill us for tons of hours rewriting things because it's hard to make into a ballad. And also it can be a centerpiece for pretty much any show of self-discovery along any lines. Like Neo Show had a Bigfoot show.
Yeah.
And What Was I Made For was the ballad. So I think, and this is not to distract from Neo Show at all, but I think on a macro level, I think What Was I Made For has a chance to go on a Wings-like run or a Come Alive-like run or a You Will Be Found-like run.
Cool. I don't know about that.
Okay, You Will Be Found, that might be stretching it a little bit. But at least on the level of a Wings run or a Come Alive run.
Yes, it can definitely match numbers with all three of those songs because I mean it was like you go to a competition in 2018 through or 2017 through 2019 and it was like 5 groups were doing it back to back to back to back, like almost like every single comp it felt like.
I was one of those groups. We did Come Alive my junior year.
Thank goodness
it's not great.
Like we acknowledged it at Mount Zion. We're like, these are like very popular songs, but we're only going to do them during spring show, fall show. We're like, we are not taking them out.
Well, you did High Hopes, right?
Yes, but not a lot of groups. I mean, I don't know about the
that's fair.
But
let me pull the numbers on High Hopes
because I mean, it was a very popular song. But like during the season, I might have heard it like 3 total other times.
What year was that?
Oh, High Hopes.
2019.
Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 in 2019. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 in 2021.
I was going to say, I thought there was more the year after.
Or 2020. Yeah. So 17 in 2020 and 9 in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I might have been confusing my years. So I will give you a pass and say maybe not everybody was performing it in 2019. I remember everybody who did do it in 2019 did it in 2020.
But I think you touched on a really good point. It's so
we should do an episode in summer about songs.
Yeah, we should. Like the song is so versatile. And I feel like the way that every single group did it was completely different and unique. And like it was basically like Dear Evan Hansen, where every single one was different and unique. I thought they did an amazing job. And when that amazing solo was finished and she grabbed Bigfoot's hand, it was like, oh, it kind of like it like grabbed your heart a little bit. It was a little heart wrencher. That was on the vocal side, and I thought they finished very, very strong. I just didn't know that they were more, what's the word? Not poppy. They were more operatic. Like it was almost jaw was on the floor, vowel shape, type of singing.
I would say they held a bit more of a consistent chorally tone.
Yeah, thank you.
Than some other groups, which is not a good thing or a bad thing. It's simply a stylistic choice because some groups, I would argue Troy, specifically in relation to this competition, that was one of Troy's calling cards vocally, is that, well, they started out with Take Me Home Country Roads in a very operatic style, in a very beautiful style. And I think more groups need to do takes, like genre bending takes on songs. We'll get to that when we get to Troy. But then they did Country Girl, Shake It For Me in a very country-esque tone. But then when you get to like a very thin, almost character voicey, not like explicitly character voicey, because that would be ridiculous for an entire half of a medley, but like a bit of a thinner tone. They kind of widened it back out in the ballad. But then the back half of their show, I would say, was pretty bright tone-wise. Would you agree with that?
Kind of. I mean, I think what drove them apart, like in switching genres, is like diction. Like in Country Girl, like it was all, diction is done with the tip of the tongue and the teeth, and they were using all of it, and it was really out in front, and they were grabbing every word before it came. Like I do agree with what you're saying. So
and Neo Show, for better or for worse, kind of stayed in that deep range for most of the set.
Yeah.
Continue.
Visually, I thought the pictures they created were super cool. Like I thought when they were like going into the thick of it, and they used like the clumps of people, and they were like walking across the stage in unison, and their different groups. I thought that was super cool. I thought the way they ended was super cool. I just don't know if the difficulty was to the levels of some of these other groups. It seemed like really basic. It was really simple and effective. I thought it did a great job for the show. However, I was just like, some of these other groups are just moving at like a faster pace. So like, does that make any sense? Like
Yes.
everything
Yes, it
was
does.
just, a little bit faster, a little tempoed up. Everything else with Neo show, it was just like, it kind of stayed the same throughout. So that's kind of where I had them visually. 10, I mean, it seems far down. However, I mean, there were, so many good groups here visually. It's just so hard to do. So that's kind of my take on Neo show, Corlears. I'm so glad they came up, and I am very surprised because I mean, I never see groups from southwestern Missouri, and I mean, if this is what it is, I just can't wait to see how they continue to grow because I mean, this is a choir that just does so well in the results page. So
Do we want to move on to the shows of the finalists?
yes, we definitely can.
6th place, Loveland Allure.
Oh wait,
Now,
really fast. Can we back up and talk about the one other mixed choir that didn't make finals?
oh yeah, we can definitely talk about Glenwood.
Yes. So Glenwood, my second time seeing the show, and again, I had a lot of people come up to me and say that this was just such a fun show. Now, I am just so not used. Like, I think they've done it for maybe 2 or 3 years now. I'm just so not used to backdrops yet for Glenwood, like at all. It just feels weird. Maybe because I watch so many Glenwood shows where it's just no backdrop and it's just here we are singing and dancing in combo, just having a great time. I'm still getting used to backdrop Titan Fever, which is fine. I mean, I think it did add a lot of element to the show. And I mean, I thought their lights for the most part did a great job. The one part where I was blinded for like 5 seconds, it ended up being worth it. Like on a score sheet, I know that's super hard because you can't.
It was blinding a little bit.
It was blinding, but it was worth it as a spectator in the sense of when they did their blackout. I like it was so bright, and it went straight to dark, and then the combo just started picking up and kicking, and they hit that masterful dance break by Ben Eklund. I thought that they had a lot of energy, and I think if there was an energy category, I feel like they could be amongst the top groups here because they really, really, really brought it. I thought. Now vocally, it's just so tough to do. I thought their choreography was fantastic. Like I've been saying for almost 2 years now, Ben Eklund is doing an amazing job with these kids, and I thought they really, really brought it, and they did a fantastic job. It's just such a tough field at the end of the day, and as I see Glenwood, like they are, of course, they'll never be there, or no, not they'll never be. They currently aren't the national champion Glenwood Titan Fever, right? And I mean, but you can't hold them to that standard. I think they are a choir that's growing. Over like the past 2 seasons, I'm like, okay, they are in a scene where you get a lot of Glenwood in Illinois. You truly do. And they are in a scene that seems like they're kind of on a trajectory to keep going up. And so I'm very excited to see how Glenwood does next year, in the years after that, because I think this is a program that could do very, very well once they get on a run.
For sure. You are the one who's been around Glenwood your whole life. So I'll let most of your points stand. The one thing I will say is that I think that Titan Fever had its moments that equaled the finalist groups. I think the journey for them from here on up is because I'll give you that Glenwood is on the way up. And so not the journey from here on out, but the journey from here on up for Glenwood is how do we keep those moments and elevate the rest of the show to be at the same level as those moments.
Yeah.
You can see that the bones are there.
Yeah.
They just got to build the house around it. So
you're gonna have bumps on the road. Just is what it is. And I mean, and missing finals at a competition like this is just like, okay, now we just gotta come back at the next one. Are they at Wheaton?
They are.
So we'll be previewing them in a second.
One more thing before we talk about the finalist shows. Let's talk about raw scores for prelims, because even though this was not how things wound up. This was not the deciding factor of who placed where. It was Condorcet and who won against other choirs. The raw scores are very intriguing. The
Pretty
point
cool.
spread between the top five: 720, 717, 714, 711, 699. And that means that, especially like your top four being within 9 and your top 5 being within 21, there are competitions where the gap from 1 to 2 is 38.
Yeah.
And there are comps like this where the gap from 1 to probably 10 was 38, maybe less. So it's just so interesting.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I want to add is what did I say going into this comp about prelims?
You said a lot of things.
Can you remember the one thing I said? Like the one thing I said, it'd be super hard, long weekend.
No.
The one thing I said in prelims, and I said, I never said, I didn't say guarantee because there's no guarantees in life. However, I was
especially show choir.
Yes, but I said Brandon is gonna be top 2 in prelims. I didn't know how. I don't know if all the other groups were gonna bring it, but I said, I was like, do not be surprised when Brandon is top 2 at this competition, let alone 3 points. Are you kidding me? They almost grabbed the top spot. And then prelims, I thought like all these shows like had because in finals, the main thing we were talking about is finishing shows and how much you come out of the gate and do that. I thought in prelims there was a lot of like, okay, we are expected to make finals. We'll do good enough to make finals, and we'll just see where things kind of like land for majority of these groups. And we thought like just the next step was just energy and just vocally finishing the show, because it's so hard to do, especially at a competition like this. Like the group who goes takes the next step was the group who's going to get a top placement at this competition. However, I thought Brandon's presentation was going to do so well at this competition, and I mean, clearly, it did fantastic. So, I mean, I thought the prelim placements were kind of where I had it, except for I have to tip my hat to Troy. I really did. I saw them as a finals group coming into this, and thank goodness they proved me right in that aspect. However, I mean, beating Wheaton is such a tough thing to do this year. I mean, only 4 other groups could say that before this competition. So,
yes,
coming in, no doubt in the judges' mind, being a top 3 group is just huge for them. I mean, there were 6 points from tying from the lead. That is just an amazing thing to say, especially with a Troy group who was at Franklin Community or Central, and they got 5th.
I think Central, not FCOM.
Yeah, my
I think Ben Davis won FCOM.
Yes, you're right. It was yes. Like this was a Troy group who got 5th. To amazing groups, Fishers, Waltham. The list goes on and on. However, they come into this competition. They could have been like, you know what, guys, let's just try to get into finals here. Let's just try to squeeze our way in. No, they brought it. They truly did it, and the judges awarded them for it. 6 points from. I mean, that's insane for Troy. So I just have to tip my hat to Troy.
6th place finalist group, Loveland Allure. What do you got to say about
them? This was a fantastic show. I'm going to say that about every single group. I'm just going to go, it was a fantastic show. Like for a lot of these groups, there was just so many unknowns. After seeing them in prelims, I personally didn't have them in finals. However, earlier in the show, I did say I want to see the show again. And I mean,
you did say that.
And I did. I got to see the show again. I thought that maybe they kind of figured that they would be the 6th group here, only because of how tight it was in finals, like throughout. And just being a single gender choir in a field like this is just such a hard thing to do, to make a lot of noise.
It was also a bit of a quick turnaround. And they were the first finalist.
And that's such a hard thing to do. And they got on stage fast. However, their set is just so much fun. I know you've seen the other Dolly set this year, I mean,
If I had a nickel for every time I heard Jolene, I'd have 3 nickels,
yeah, three of them.
which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened thrice.
2 at this comp, 3 of the year.
Have you seen Center Grove this year?
No.
Ah,
No,
should really get you
we're
should really
side
get out to HOALA and make that
yeah,
happen.
we are sidebarring, but real fast. You're like, "This year, I think I've caught up with you on, like, shows." I'm like, "No, you're gonna pass me, man." I was like, "Yes, yes, Blue Valley is a fantastic group, and Urbandale is a, like, all-time great group," but I was like, "You're going to Pike, and you're going here, and you're going there," and I was like, "I think you're gonna have me this year." So, because we've gone to, like, what, 3 comps together after Wheaton, something like that.
Yes.
So we
4.
Yeah, so we'll see about this all the same groups after that. But I was like,
Well,
I don't know
are we
if
going
Blue
to
Valley is at the level of Center Grove yet.
ISMA State Finals together?
What is that?
March 22nd?
Maybe. I don't know if I want to go to any more ISMA comps, and that's not hate on ISMA comps. It's just, just is what it is.
The correct answer is no. That way I can keep gaining shows on you. I think I might be the shows guy, but you will forever be the story guy. Like when I was competing at Twinsburg, fueled by their great barbecue.
Yes,
Right,
always.
because that's Twinsburg
Amazing
that has a
barbecue.
barbecue, right? Or is that Troy that has a barbecue?
Troy does barbecue. Their dad
Troy does barbecue. What is
does an amazing job.
I feel like Twinsburg had some other food.
Oh, Twinsburg had it like, they had Dairy Queen blizzards. Just and
Directors, this is your sign to go to Twinsburg North Coast next year.
and their dinner selections were crazy. Like, you know how every comp has like that one dinner selection? Like, all right, guys, we're only gonna do pasta or whatever. They had like 6, and it was like, and I feel like
well, did you see? Has this been a thing that Mount Zion has had La Gondola deals for dinner, or is that new this year?
So off rip, I do not know.
La Gondola was very highly recommended to me before the competition.
Oh my, La Gondola is the best. It is the best. Sorry to everyone who's not from the Central Illinois right now, but like La Gondola is just so good. The cinnamon bread, the pizza burger. Oh my goodness, it's just.
I was told that I have to get take home.
Oh,
like take and bake spaghetti.
Yes, you get the family take and bakes, and you get this jug of spaghetti, and it's just phenomenal. I feel like a lot of places like have spaghetti places like this, but the La Gondola Spaghetti House is just amazing. Okay,
please sponsor us. Anyways,
yes, please sponsor us. And if you went to any place in Mount Zion / Decatur, put it in the comments. I want to know if you went to Krekel, 49, La Gondola, Charo, all of them. I mean, put it in the comments because I don't know where people went. It's kind of cool. So. Yes, but cafeteria food, amazing. You're making me hungry. I haven't had dinner yet, so thank you, Will.
Oh, that's brutal.
Where are we at? Loveland Alert. Okay, their backdrop, maybe one of my favorite of the whole day. Besides, like screens, because of course you could do so many different things with screens. But like, Loveland
Allure, yes, screens now.
Yeah, their butterflies and like their big dolly sign. I was like, when they opened up the curtain, I was like, wow, like that is just so pleasing to the eye. And then they came out in those earthy dresses and costumes, and I was like, this is just amazing to look at visually. Like presentation, like just great. They came out and they sang very, very, very well. I thought they did a fantastic job vocally. Their ballad was great. However, it's just like the one thing that just sticks out to my mind. I just keep jumping to it. Like it's like just one of one things that they did was just Wrecking Ball. My brain just keeps skipping everything else they did, even though it's fantastic.
Now, why was Wrecking Ball included in a Dolly Parton set?
So I was told by multiple sources. And honestly, like, to anyone that came up to me or texted me or said anything on what I said on the live stream to just like confirm things, like, thank you, because I want to know why things are happening in shows, like, because I don't know everything. Clearly, I'm not in Ohio, and especially when I have a camera in my face, I can barely remember my name. So it was a good thing that they came up to us and they told us.
Thank goodness we did all that show prep, man.
Yeah, I mean, we did an amazing job. So Loveland Alert, they did a Wrecking Ball, dubstep dance break with smoke machines and everything. And then they sang a little bit of Wrecking Ball afterwards. I said on the broadcast, I was like, that was the moment that stole the whole show. Like, it was just amazing, one of one part of the whole day. And they did that, and I go on the stream, and I'm like, man, I just don't know, like, off rip, what the connection is. I never thought I would see a Wrecking Ball in a Dolly Parton show, like, ever. In the back of my mind, Brian, when I said that, I was like, there is a connection, you just don't know it. Like, I thought they were, like, somehow, and I knew it. Thank goodness I had multiple parents come up to me from Loveland and say, hey, just so you know, the reason why they do Wrecking Ball is because that is Dolly is Molly's godmother. And I was like, I knew it. I just didn't have enough information to say it on stream, because if I would have said something like that, it was wrong, I would have heard about it later. So I'm so glad that the parents came up to me. And apparently, like, I need to see the song credits, because I never knew Dolly Parton helped write Wrecking Ball, because I also got that information. If you could look that up for me, Will, I can hear your fingers going crazy.
Jamie, pull that up. Songwriters: Maureen McDonald, Stefan Mochio, Sacha Skbarek, David Kim, Lucas Gottwald, Henry Walter.
Oh. But maybe she had influence on it. She had influence on Wrecking Ball. We'll say that.
Let me do a
Dolly Parton / Wrecking Ball, Miley Cyrus /
Oh, she did a re-recording of Wrecking Ball with Dolly in 2023.
That makes sense.
That might have been it.
Okay. Yeah, so shout out to all the parents for letting me know about that. Like,
it was actually a part of it was part of Dolly's 49th studio album, Rockstar.
Oh, wow. Like,
yeah,
how much I know. It's like,
yeah.
That moment in their show, like I said, it's one of one. It truly is. Like, it was like, when it happened, I like audibly out loud said, hey, like, let's go. Come on now. like we just turned it up in here. And that's what Loveland does. They know how to finish shows. So yeah, I thought they did an amazing job. In finals, there was more miscues. For example, like the ballad soloist. Oh my goodness, I don't know how she did it. Try doing it in heels. Try doing it in one heel. Like, center of the ballad singing her solo, and she is on the tippiest of her toes, like trying to match her other heel. Like, I was like, while singing, I'm like, how is she doing this? Like, so shout out for her for improvising that. I thought she played that off very well. And there was other things, but I don't remember. Long weekend, but Love and Allure really brought it, and them making finals is like just amazing. I'm so glad they did.
Yes, all of the above. Yeah, this was just a great show to watch a second time. Ethan, like you said, I don't know if the show moved forward in finals. Like you said, there were these small things that held it back a little bit. A couple things with the band as well. But again, just the benefit that you get from watching a show a second time, especially something that is not just a fun novelty show. And there is certainly a place for fun novelty shows out there, like Spain Park, like one of the funnest shows of the day. And there's literally no plot except for maybe a little bit of meaning in the ballad, but there's no plot besides it being gibberish.
Yeah.
And the 1 year my school was good in high school, we made a living on a novelty set with no theme, no plot line, no whatever. And so I certainly respect novelty shows, but to have a show where they drop the curtain and the backdrop is Dolly and you're like, oh, well, I know what this is going to be. We're just going to run through Dolly's greatest hits, aren't we? And no, we're not just running through Dolly's greatest hits. I really enjoyed this show, and I would have been happy with like the 5 mixed finalists plus any of the next like 4 or 5 shows. But I was really happy to see Allure a second time in finals. The 5th place group, Loveland by Request.
The Lighthouse, coming into this competition, you heard so many different things about the Lighthouse, so many different opinions about the Lighthouse. And now I know there's multiple Lighthouses, so my brain just could be mush, I think, right? There's multiple Lighthouses this year?
Well, I have seen multiple Lighthouses this year.
Okay, so but you can confirm that.
Yes. Shout out New London Vision. If there's anyone from New London watching, great end of your season this past weekend. Multiple light up lighthouses as well.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I really appreciate, is that people are not just saying, you know what, we're gonna put a big lighthouse and it's gonna be wood and we're gonna paint it up and it's just gonna sit there. No, we're gonna put a lighthouse and it's gonna light up and the light is gonna spin around
So
and it's gonna
cool.
actually be something that adds to the effect of the show instead of just being a set piece.
It was so cool. And I mean, like the lighthouse just has like I love it on so many different levels because like the lighthouse just has it has a meaning within the show, you know, like the lighthouse symbolizes this and it's like then you have your lighthouse keeper that represents this. Um but then it's like physically the lighthouse is just amazing craftsmanship. Like the people who put that together, the light as soon as it flicks on, you're like, no way it's gonna spin around. It just goes whoom, whoom, and I'm like, this is just so cool. And then it comes on at like the most important times in the show, like in the ballad when it comes on, it's like, oh man, that is just sick. Um, also one last thing about the lighthouse is just, which was a big part of their show, because we're going back to back Loveland. Loveland knows how to close the show. Spoiler alert. And it was like party lighthouse. Like I was like, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. And the lights are like going crazy. We're like at the club. I was like, I never knew a lighthouse could be a club, and they turned it into a club. Just a fantastic show. I also love the risers that light up. I saw maybe some strips falling off every now and then, but like overall, those things stick together pretty well. I I thought the show was a complete show. From front to back, I thought it climbed very, very well. It did not plateau at all. Like you see in a lot of shows where it's just like, okay, here's our theme, and this is what happens in the theme, and da 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 da. This like was like, okay, yeah, we have a lighthouse, and we're like on a beach, and then like, oh wait, what does a lighthouse mean? And then it's like party. It's like just an amazing.
Did we ever answer the question, what does a lighthouse mean?
I don't know, man. What does it mean?
I was the one who asked you the question.
Yeah, I mean, then I'm asking you back. I mean, do you not know? Do you know the answer?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Give me another like 3 nights of sleep, and then maybe my
Yeah,
brain
I'm
can
not.
process.
Don't worry, we don't need to be quizzing each other or anything.
I'm
right
too
now.
I'm too busy like looking for a camera in that corner of the room, and
Yeah,
it's a joke on Grenada's show.
Yes. So I thought it was an amazing show. Their ballad, oh my goodness, it was so pure, and it was just. I thought there's a reason why Paxton Mertz has gotten the recognition that he's gotten because like it is real. I can't wait to see if he can complete the season sweep like at the end of the year. And he's in the chat, of course he is.
Hey, there we
of hope, of
go.
course it is. I just couldn't find my wording. I would have said something stupid, and I would have been like, "Oh, okay, that's not it." Like, but so thank you, Paxton. Amazing solo, of course. I thought a lot of things went right for Loveland in finals. I actually thought it was a better show. I really did. I thought there was cues that were hit in finals that weren't hit in prelims. For example, they put, which is super cool, they put the lanterns in the front of the stage, and like they're not distracting at all the whole show, and they add a lot. And the lighting cues in finals, they did a part in prelims, and they were like blackout, 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 boom, and they like just like they like collapse from the waist down, and it was like a cool position. But I was like, huh, I wonder if they were supposed to turn off the lights. Like,
turns out they were supposed to turn off the lights.
Yes, find out they were supposed to turn off the lights, and when they turned off the lights, and they go blackout, 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 boom, and like the lights turn off, and then it's only the glow of the lanterns on stage. It's like, oh, chef kiss. That it was just perfect. Whoever thought of that is just amazing. And speaking of the everyone has it now. Is that just what we're doing as a combo? Like every combo just has that big like I don't know what the word is of it. The boom, like boom. And I think Loveland used it like all the time. Like every dance break, it was like boom. I don't know if this is making any sense.
I know what you're talking about. I don't have a good word for it either.
Yeah, I think they used it very, very well, and they used it a lot. So shout out to their combo. I thought they did an amazing job. Like every single combo. I really do feel like they did an amazing job. And I thought Loveland really brought it in finals, and they killed it. They really did.
For sure. One, shout out Pax and Murs. Also had a great interview on the live stream for those of you who are lucky enough to be watching it during the morning as well. And this is a Loveland group that I think a little bit similar to Allure. If you just looked at the record on paper coming into this, you were really not very optimistic that Loveland was going to make finals, because they were second here, they were third there, they were fifth here, and fifth this other place.
Week 3, we were asking ourselves, like, could they be the one that doesn't make it? Like,
yeah, although I like, in all fairness, there was like a rotating pendulum ever since we knew the lineup of like, this is the one mixed group that's not going to make it. No, it's going to be this group.
Yes.
No, it's going to be this group. And well, boy, how do you wound up being two groups?
Spree's getting in. I don't think Allure was mentioned once.
No. Like, you can go back and listen to our preview show from a week ago. They were just totally out of left field. But by request was certainly in the conversation, right? And I think there were a lot of people that were very optimistic, because Loveland, I mean, dating back over a decade to when they won show choir nationals, has a history of performing well on stage at the biggest moments when it matters the most. And I think that By Request did that in both prelims and in finals. Like, you look at that point gap, they were within that top 5, within 21 points of the lead of a show that was just incredible. So I think when you look at that, again, I'm not going to say that I want to go to Ohio, because as a man of principle, I will not say that. But it really does, it's been tempting a little bit this year to take the black pill on Ohio show choir, because Solon is very good, Marysville is very good. Everything behind them seems to be like a little bit scatterbrained this year. But if Loveland is a part of that mess that just happens every week, and then they come out here and they're within absolutely shouting distance of groups from every corner of the country, great shows, phenomenal shows.
Yes,
I think it is absolutely a great acquittal of the Loveland program. They are not washed. They are not going anywhere. Sure, they may finish this season winless, but it is certainly one of the biggest winless seasons out there this season.
The result at Fairfield is going to be really interesting. I think they took a lot of big steps. Now, that competition it's a little different. It's a little different. And
that's why I said they may finish this season winless.
It's just such a good competition, and the fact that they have gotten this one under their belt before the next one, like, same with all the other groups going to Wheaton, like the fact that they went to this competition, they didn't need to go to this competition, they didn't have to, and the fact that they're like, let's get a challenge in before another challenge. So shout out to every group doing that, but especially Loveland traveling from Ohio.
For sure. Any other thoughts on By Request, or should we move on to our fourth place group?
Let's move on, because we still got to preview another comp.
Oh, dude. Troy Buchanan Express.
I feel like I
touched on. It's going to go so long.
Yeah, I feel, And if you're sticking around, God bless you. I kind of already touched on a lot of Troy earlier when we were talking about prelim placements and where everyone kind of are rolled up. However, just to touch on a few things again, I thought that their show climbs, and I thought their vocals get stronger throughout the show, especially in a closer that is just taxing. I watched it and I was like, oh my goodness, how are they still standing? And no one had rolled off the stage, or now granted, I wasn't backstage. There could have been a few wheelchairs. I don't know. I wasn't back there, because that's just how it is sometimes. Some kids just go way too hard.
I think someone from By Request did wind up in a wheelchair after finals, I think.
Oh, okay. It just has to happen. I mean,
maybe not Express, but yeah.
It's not great, of course. You never want to end up in that spot, but it always happens. So, as a spectator, I thought everyone in Troy could have been in a wheelchair, just because of how much they brought it and how vocally strong they were at the end of the show. It just reminded me of a Mount Zion show, where it's just that closer just keeps going and going and going and going and going, and then it's dance break, vocals, dance break. It's just craziness, and Troy really did an amazing job. Just fantastic all the way around. I love the way that they at the end of their show were this is my city, and in the back you see Troy Buchanan on the screens, and it's that is just such a cool little thing.
Well, Troy Buchanan is not a city.
True, but I mean, it goes well with the song. I thought I talk about closing the show. Them and Loveland compare very well in that aspect. So to see them like in fourth and fifth and sixth, it was like these are shows that just closed so well. And like you said, the beginning when they start with that Country Roads, and it's just like opera. Like I literally in finals heard someone go shh like before. Like the curtain opened and someone like was talking and someone shushed them because they're like, wait, everyone be quiet. Like this is a moment like that you don't want to forget because it sets up the whole show. And it's like after the show's over, you remember those first few counts of the whole show. And then they go into the, the country section and they keep going and going and going.
Can we talk about that opening section for a little bit? Because there was a very subtle thing in there that I want to make note of that also sets up the entire show. So, the melody goes, country road, take me home in the original song, it goes, to the place I belong. And Troy makes a very subtle change. It says, to a place I belong. And so it kind of sets up that, we don't really know what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that we are looking for something, we're going to get there.
Yeah. And then, then they kind of find out like, you know what? I kind of like home. Like, this is the place I grew up in. This is the place I've lived in. And it's like, home is my place. And like another part of it is just like outside of the show choir aspect, like the people who are seniors in this group, they're leaving home probably. Majority of them are leaving home and going to a college and like, this is it. And they're going to like find themselves and figure out what they want to do with their life. So it's kind of like, that little aspect of it is just super, super cool.
Absolutely. Just that entire show, I'm going to reiterate several things that I said on the stream, but that entire back half of the show, just vintage Stephen Todd, dance breaks that had him drop dead, vocals that when you look at how intensely they're dancing, you're like, how are they singing this good?
Yeah.
Kind of like what you were saying earlier. And just really, again, Troy's another group. I feel like I've said this for like 3 straight groups, but Troy is a group where new head director this year, had been assistant director before, surprisingly somewhat dropped their first competition of the year. Only one win heading into this competition this year. They were a group that if you just look at the results on paper, you don't factor in any of the context. Is it not the same Troy Buchanan anymore? Is the departure of one director really, is this the start of the decline for Troy Buchanan? And like they got out there and prelims was just kind of a jumble because shows were, I think for everyone, prelims was a bit of a jumble because like very clearly every choir had a different strong suit and every judge had different opinions on every choir. Mm-hmm. So for me, like I came out of that prelims run of being like, man, like if Troy Buchanan made it, I don't really know if they're like in shouting distance, and very clearly they were. So I think I just had a bad take on the show clearly because they were right there with everyone else. They were leading a category. But then in finals, I was like, okay, this is, to use a phrase that my co-host really loves to use, this is a group that is in the pocket. This is a group that is comfortable. This is a group that is in their element. But at the same time, this is a group that is absolutely pushing this competition forward.
Yeah. And I mean, I keep saying it, home field advantage, it's going to a group that's not from the state. Like they were going for a 3P at this competition. They won the past 2 coming in. So like everyone in this program has competed at Mount Zion at some point, like on multiple years. Like that's just kind of how it is. And so they knew what they were getting into. They know the environment. They know where the judges are. They know where to look the whole time. Like other things like inside their show wise, like I love the truck beds. They grew on me so much. When I first saw them on the live stream, I was like, this is different. I just don't know how it translates. And I saw them at Troy. Of course, that's just a hype show all the way throughout. And then I saw them at Mount Zion, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, I love the way they use these truck beds and the way that they dance on them. And, I mean, we said earlier they are kind of like Lin Mar in the sense that the truck beds have different meanings and they're used for different things. They're a setting and a prop all into one, which I bet Lexi really liked because she was the one who did the fences. So,
yep.
She was a judge.
It checks.
So, yes, it does.
They had no Ram truck bed. Can you believe that? They had Ford, they had GMC, and they had Chevrolet, but they had no Ram truck bed.
But he had to add one more truck bed just for you.
Yes, please. Troy, if you have a spring show coming up, please add a Ram truck bed and send me a photo.
And then like how the light or the tail lights lit up, super cool. Like that's just another like just little thing that just made it like just different. I liked the boys number. Now granted, I don't know the person's name, but like the guy with the ponytail the boys number scenes a solo, slides back on the pickup truck. A guy picks him up. He goes over, grabs a trombone, and has a whole trombone solo like directly afterwards. Just so much fun. Just so many different elements here and there. And of course, just the energy at the very end. They really, really brought it.
Yes. Third place show. You ready?
Yes.
Brandon Brio.
Just, I mean, we saw them at Chesterton. We saw them 3 weeks ago, and I mean, the question marks coming into it. I think for both of us, kind of relied on the vocal side because we knew presentation wise they had the whole thing. Like we knew that this was a show that everyone loved and like everyone wanted more of. I feel like I said on the Chesterton recap, it was like if the show just kept going or like with different artists, like I wouldn't be bored because just music as a whole is just fantastic and the different artists that bring it to light, of course. And then there's the GOATs like that they presented. I just a fantastic show. And like you just have to mention it because it's just such a huge part of their show, especially in the South, right? And I mean, Austin in Indianapolis as well. Like if you have screens, you want them to work, right? They set up so much of the show. They set up the time, the place, the setting, everything. They had it in prelims, and they didn't have it in finals. And that's just we heard that like as soon as the show's about to start, that's when they found out, right? And that's just such a tough pill to swallow. However, I thought they adapted very, very well. And a part of me was like, okay, I've seen the show 3 times now. I'm going to watch it without their screens now. I want to see how it translates. Like how much of the screens have an impact on this show? And yes, it does. It adds a lot of effect. However, like the show itself was still fantastic. Like I didn't need a screen telling me where things were going. Like if they had an intro that said they will be like, and they did, like we will be exploring this, and this, and all these amazing artists. Like after the show, I would have been like, well, I didn't understand any of it because they didn't have a backdrop or screens, right? They did a great job going throughout the show. Even the lighting cues, improvising and having to add lights to certain things to try to figure things out like on the fly. I thought they did a fantastic job. And as a show choir, they did amazing job, I thought.
Yes, all of the above. There's just a certain level of experience that you get when you watch Brandon Brio. And obviously the screens are a big part of that, right? But there's also just the aura, I guess, just the ambiance that surrounds the ensemble known as Brandon Brio, the kind of shroud of myth that you hear so much about them. You hear that 10 points from beating Clinton at Northeast Jones in 2023, et cetera, and you're like, okay, like it's going to take a lot to live up to what you hear about Brandon Brio. And then Brandon Brio takes the stage, and by golly, pound for pound, absolutely some of the best performers that were on stage. Because even just talking about the mental side of things, it is a mental gut punch to, as you are presumably standing on the risers in your first block with only waiting for the curtain to go up. All of a sudden, you get the word, hey, the screens aren't going to go. So Elvis, when you turn around and your cue is when you see the screen light up and then you turn around and start going, you're actually not going to have that cue. And all the other things, like, the first chord of the show is a band chord and a flash on the screen. You're not going to have that. You have to be a mentally tough group to respond to that.
Oh, yeah. And I thought their performers did an amazing job. Like what you said, like that first group photo that they do, that when they're in the family and they're in the clump and they're surrounded by Elton on the piano and, he's banging on the keys. There's supposed to be something on the screen that tells you what's going on. Like I will say when that part happened, I was a little bit worried. Like, how are they going to respond? Because, they're just standing there and it's dark and all is just the flashes of light on them. And you just hear, little Benny and the Jet just dun, 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 which goes so hard, by the way. Just fantastic. Like, they, in that moment, just have to stand there, breathe, smile, and lock in. Like, whatever's going on behind them, it is what it is. Like, I know that's just such a little, like, punch to them. Like, yes, we are supposed to be presenting something right now. But right now, as a whole, we are a family and we are going to get through this. Like, together we are stronger. And I think that was perfect because then they hit that really big operatic chord from the get-go. And, like, at that moment, they locked in. They were locked in. I thought they did an amazing job. We said this so many times. Their soloists are just phenomenal. However, like, they performed that opener and you could tell that was the last time that they were competing. Like, you could tell there was a different bar was being set after every single song. Like, there was I don't know where it came from. Like, there was a big, like, they hit a really strong, powerful closing, like, move and then a final pose, like, where they stomp their feet, like, to announce, like, we are here, we're gonna bring you a strong show. Like, somebody, like, I don't know if it was just, the energy inside them and like one of them just let out a really big, like, woo, like we just brought it and we are so locked in. And I mean, that continued throughout the whole show. And I love shows that are emotional and grab at your heart. Like, some shows are supposed to be that, like, on purpose. This show, of course, is not supposed to be that way, besides maybe for, like, Whitney Houston part. But it was like those kids had so much emotion running that show for presumably the last time besides their host performance. I thought they did an amazing job. And I thought, like, vocally, they were way better than they were where they were at Chesterton. I thought they closed the show very, very well, way better than Chesterton. Like, this was just a different Brandon Brio that we saw.
It was. And I think ultimately, when you look at prelims, they were fourth in vocals. Ultimately, I think that was a little bit of their undoing in finals as well. I do have a request. If there's anyone from Brandon watching this that could make this happen, for Brandon Elite coming up here in a few weeks, please find a couple people to put heart rate monitors on, either like the Fitbit style wristbands or like the chest heart rate monitors. And please send us that heart rate data throughout the show. And please send that to Stephen Todd as well, because I'm sure he can use those stats when trying to get new groups. And we will talk about that data because I am an endurance runner, so I understand what that kind of heart rate data over that amount of time means. I would assume that those kids, some of them are busting probably close to 180 beats per minute for that entire show, save for the portion of the show that they're on stage, because there are several costume changes as well. But for the portions that you're on stage, I would assume that they're trekking somewhere in the 150 to 180 range, which is frankly kind of incredible that they can do that. But
yeah,
yes, just the experience that you have. And also, like, just a shout out to them and everybody else that they spent probably 10 to 15 minutes trying to get their screens to work. And final awards were still done before midnight. So just on an operational side of things, I guess, that as a whole, very good as well. Any thoughts on Brio before we move on to our second place group?
Like I said, I would pay to see the show again. I
believe there might be a live stream for Elite.
Oh, well, yeah, I think there is going to be one, and hopefully I am there. Hopefully I am at the Brandon Elite. Now, I don't know if I'll catch their show because who knows? I'll probably be sunburnt at that point. Probably in the ER trying to get hydrated. However,
Jackson Memorial Hospital, make a reservation.
Yeah, so you touched on it earlier. Like, they have some of the most amazing performers. Like, my eyes were like locked on to multiple people for like more than 8 counts. Like, there was people who just were like so deeply invested in the product that they were putting out and they loved every second of it that I was just like, yeah, like, This is a really, really good program, and I'm so happy that they got to finish up at the Invitational this year.
For sure. Second place group, Wheaton Warrenville South, the Classics.
Yes, so I'm skipping the finals or final awards a little bit. They're announcing final awards. Little Birdie said that they were in fourth. Okay, is what it is. And I thought they put on a great show. However, I knew that they had room to grow, of course, because I feel like every Wheaton show can. Like, I don't know. There's just another gear. It's weird to explain, but it is. And then they start announcing, and they said Brio third, and they left the last two groups, Grenada and Wheaton. And then they start announcing captions. And I'm like, I think the first one that they said was Grenada choreography. And I said, okay, that's it. Like, that's ball game, right? And then they go, and then they waited for that last second. Oh, by the way, the Classics got vocals. And I'm like, what is about to happen? like this could go any way right now. And I am so for it. Vocally, the Wheaton Warrenville Classics were fantastic. They were just amazing. Their ballad, I've said it multiple times, like one of my favorite, just because of how like soft it is the whole time. It's not, it has its moments, but I don't think you can put it on the power ballad side of things. And then a lot of ballads are really, just like high energy at a certain point. It's just, blaring down. Like, I don't think it's a power ballad. It has its moments of some power, but like, it really just makes you like self-reflect on something because it's so relatable. I mean, everyone's going through this thing called life, and we all have to battle time at some point. It just is what it is. They just do an amazing job, and their choreography is so clean, just so clean. So that's why when they were like best choreography Grenada, I was like, okay, I thought Wheaton kind of had that locked up, and it just personally. And then I was like, then they announced vocals. I'm like, what? I was like, no way. The Classics just did their classic. Oh, we'll be in fourth place for prelims, and then we'll just win it. That's like.
Well, that would be a classics move.
Yeah.
It hasn't been known to happen to the late 2010s.
Yeah, they somehow just do it. But they did get second. Their show, I think there's two. We said it in the moment. Like, if you are introducing someone to show choir, there is a choir you introduce them to. And I think two of them off the top of my head are the Wheaton Warrenville South, the Classics, and number 2, Carmel Ambassadors. I think those are the first two groups I show anyone because, I mean, they are so similar in the way that they just keep going and going and going. And it's just, they wow you with their showmanship and just how well they seem throughout the whole show. Like, what's funny? Coming into this year, we heard that this could be a down year for Wheaton. And if a down year is going to second place and beating groups like Brandon, Troy, Loveland, Neo Show, and then so on and so forth, it's insane how far that this group has gone. And then the ending, you and I were like, if Wheaton has any shot of winning this thing, they just have to keep going and going and going. Because, I mean, we saw it in Troy in the day, and we saw it in Loveland, and it was like, if the Classics can do the exact same thing, because like the one thing I was worried about was just, they just move so much. And like when so much movement is happening, you lose air. You just forget to breathe sometimes. You're thinking too much. Like, this is what it is. And I thought that the energy at the very end was just like, I don't even know how to explain it. It opened up a whole new wall, broke the fourth level, so to say. They just did an amazing job. They closed very well. The backflips are sick. Shout out to the boy. All-state gymnast, apparently. You don't see that very often nowadays. So, I swear he gets higher on his flips every single time. At the Core Classics, he might just end up in a changing tent because that's just how hard this kid goes. Again, they also have some fantastic performers across the board. And I think they implement everyone very, very well. It's like a different soloist every time. It's someone different on center every single time when they're dancing. Truly just such a strong classic showing.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
What is time?
It's what we're in right now. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm not a philosopher, but I mean, if the classics taught me anything from this weekend, it's to cherish it and just keep moving forward with the best intentions and love life as long as you can.
Fair answer. Fair answer. You said everything. I don't know if I have anything to add. Plus, we're gonna see one final rendition of classics
Oh, it's
this
gonna be
weekend
electric.
as well.
Wait,
The first place group.
no skipping host performances, Will? Whoa, 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 whoa. We're switching up at
Crap.
the end of the year?
Crap. All right, never mind. I will not be seeing the classics this
No,
weekend.
no, you
I
can't.
amend
I'll give
my
you a pass.
statement.
I'll give you a pass. I'll give you a pass.
The notorious skipper of host exhibitions. I'm not going to be seeing classics or spree
No,
this
you
weekend.
definitely okay,
For
okay.
legal reasons, this is a joke. Please don't put me on the banned list. I really want to be able to actually go to that comp this weekend.
Yeah, somebody knocks on you right before they're about to go on stage. Says, "Sorry, you gotta leave. You gotta leave."
Yeah, no. Like I would walk up to the admissions table, and they'd be like, "You're that guy who always skips the host exhibition, right? We can't let you in." Anyways, first place group, Great Divisions.
Just clap it up. Just clap it up for Grenada. Where to start? First off, winning People's Choice and not being from the state is insane. Insane. However, you could definitely like just feel the southern energy. You can tell that they traveled, and that auditorium was loud. Like before they even stepped on stage, they set up their little house for Truman, and it's like the auditorium just erupted. Like you could barely hear us on the live stream. We could barely even talk through it. Like at that moment,
Yeah,
and at that moment, you're like, okay, if they brought a caravan, they clearly came here for a reason, not just because their last show. They came here because they wanted to see how they could do in an environment like this that they've never been in. This is their first win in the North. Like
yes.
as far as they've gone up is Tennessee. I could be so wrong. I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know the history of Grenada, but they were at nationals last year. So
I'll do some research on that. Keep talking.
yes. So yeah, they start off the show, and I know the Truman Show. I've seen it. So I know where this is gonna go in Soda Sense, but the way that they do things was just different. It was its own Truman Show. Like not even the one that you see on Amazon Prime or Netflix or wherever it's on. Like this was Grenada's Truman Show. They come out of the gate, and I mean, first off, Truman himself, just he's what's the term we use, Will? Him?
He is him.
Which I mean, I feel like we said that about a few people this year, but he's truly, truly just outstanding performer out of the wazoo. Just like, and that's what you need when you're doing a show like this. If you're gonna have a main character, you have to have someone who can first off handle the pressure of being a main character. First off, have the pipes to sing an amazing solo like he did, and then 3, be able to dance and do things no one else in the choir can really do. Now, I'm not saying no one else in the choir can't do what he does because they're amazing performers, but like the way he had to pop and lock, the way he has to like make his body look like he's a puppet during the puppet master. Truly, he is a talent, and the best part is only a junior, so we get one more season. I believe his name's Kyler Pittman, maybe, or is it? Or I don't know. I could be so
Yes. Yeah, that checks out. That checks
okay.
out.
So shout out to him. Amazing performance by himself. But then you have an ensemble that just is kicking it. Like the rest of the group is just fantastic. I thought the costuming was great. I also like how out the get-go, it's Truman realizing he's not where he needs to be. Like something's changed. And some I need to ask you, like to see if you picked up on it. They use screens, right? And they use them masterfully. What was happening on the screen when they were spying on him? He was replicating the same exact motions in that box. He can't see the screen. Now, like, of course, it was off a little bit because how are you supposed to do that? Like, perfectly. I don't think anyone really could. But like, he was mimicking it to a T. And just a little side tangent to the people on the production staff who had to film him driving around town. sleeping, like all the different things he had to do. Like that's just such a different element, and it's one of the reasons why I do like screens, because it gives kids and adults or whoever the people who are running these streams to be creative and uh, allow their work to be shown on a different level. So fantastic job on that. Before I go any further, anything that you want to say, Will?
So, I mean, about the show itself, I've not seen the Truman Show, so I did not know where the show was going. All the intro says is the movie correctly predicted the reality TV fan. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. So I was coming in blind pretty much, and maybe I just need to be watching more movies. I don't know, but
Shout out Grenada, not to cut you off, but I watched it last night. I've seen it before, but I was
yeah,
I just I was about to take a picture of it, like at a random part of it, and be like, thanks Grenada. Like you're making me purchase the Truman Show on Amazon.
Yeah. Prime. Also, did you wind up watching Severance on Sunday night?
Yes.
Shout out Los Al, making you watch Severance on Sunday night.
Oh yeah, anyways. I mean they them do just they're not doing the whole Severance that I thought they were going to be doing, but like even them doing like the opening credits song or whatever, or a few songs from the show, I'm just like, oh my goodness, like in my head it's like if Los Al or Burbank or John Burroughs, probably more Burbank because they do those futuristic shows, but it's like if they did a show where it was like all Severance, I would have been like, this would be like, I have to go see it. Please come to Wheaton or Mount Zion or Indianapolis, somewhere close. Don't make me pay too much, but I probably would have.
Again, the one thing that I want to say about Grenada is that in certain areas of the country, the trend is to just make the biggest show choir group that you possibly can and then just run it from there. I would not want a single more performer in Grenada Visions than there was on stage, because having a slightly smaller number of performers allowed them to have movable set pieces, allowed Matthew Murphy and Claire Barker, the choreographers, to make different staging and different formations that more effectively told the story, instead of just having everybody fill the risers and then they clump in for a little bit, but then like you go back out and they just fill all the risers. Like Grenada, like you were actually able to have them like kind of go to one side of the stage and still dance and have room, or go to the other side, or go to the top, or go to the bottom, or things like that. The other thing that I really appreciate about Grenada is that sometimes when you're doing shows based off a piece of media, you mentioned Burbank, there's some other groups who do this as well. Yeah. I think and we all know who they are. They're choirs who make a living doing shows based off of a different book or TV show or movie every year. There's a very strong temptation to like lyric search very specific things on Spotify and then pull up obscure songs that fit the message very well, but you got to take a lot of care in arranging them, and then you perform and like nobody recognizes the song. Like we saw several like standard pieces of music out of Vision's show, and obviously I've never watched the Truman Show, so I'll leave this judgment part up to you. But I felt like the show was very accessible and still pretty much stayed true to what the story was supposed to be, while keeping the audience, who may be a bit more casual or, yes, not looking for intricate show design aspects, engaged with several pieces of popular music.
So you just brought up a really, really good point, Will. Like, to be a fan favorite, people need to know what you're doing. They need to know what's going on, because, Will, you are not the only one who's out there who never seen the Truman Show. I could probably confidently say that. Like, there are people who haven't seen the show before. But yet, if you're performing songs that they know, as in Mr. Blue Sky, Puppet Master, they have so many more. But like those are just the ones that pop out to me. Some also in that, those two songs are completely different styles. I'm Always Watching You, another great one. I thought that soloist absolutely murders that. The person who's controlling Truman and who created the space and the show, when she comes out and she sings You Listen, because she did a masterful job with that.
Can I draw a quick comparison? Yeah. I saw a lot of the same between her and the Black Widow in Brownsburg Starlight Voices.
Okay.
Did you see Brownsburg Starlight Voices?
Yes.
Yes.
It was super early in the day, of Glenwood, but like I remember, I'm pretty sure I remember them. Like they were really strong vocally, and now I don't know if I remember the soloist herself, but like it does ring a bell Like I remember the costuming. Like another thing I want to go back to is what you said, Will. Like the number of people on stage, right? They used every single square inch of that stage. Uh, and now so did like Brandon in terms of like where their lights went and stuff like that. But at Mount Zion, you have the stage, and then a little bit up front is, I mean, you have a little ledge right behind the or right beyond the number line, but you also have wings, like open wings, and like where you can hide stuff and go. There were cast members going in and out of those wings constantly. There were performers that were like if they were supposed to like hang around the bush, you know, and the fence, whatever on the side, they were like in that space. The whole stage was being used, whether it was for combo, staging, for costuming, the crew, who was phenomenal. Very, very close to Loveland's crew. I wonder how they chose that. Grenada, amazing, amazing, amazing. Just like visually, I'm trying to remember a specific point. Their boys number, I don't know what song it was, but I think it was towards the end. It might have not been a boys number, but it was a boys dance break with the girls outside doing their own layering. I was like, holy crap. This is amazing. I have never seen these choreographers before. Like, because they are very in-house. I've never seen one of their shows before. So seeing it for the first time, I was like, I'm kind of in love with this. The pictures that they create, the costuming, the showmanship is just it's insane, Will. It is insane what they did. And I mean, this group's not undefeated this year. So I mean, this is just also another testament to the South. Like they truly brought it. Like with Brandon and Grenada, but then you have to throw in also like Jackson Academy who came up this year. I mean, people aren't scared to go anywhere anymore in the South. And I mean, a lot of groups like are noticing that and they're kind of like, okay, let's do that too. And then of course, shout out to like Lynn Marr for doing the exact same thing. You know, they did not have to go to Chesterton. They could have went to that stacked Urbandale lineup. So shout out to them as well. But like Grenada, just a different level. We said on the live stream, the prelim performance when Truman slams the door on her and all the performers step together and they wait for that like beat and then the girls pick up their dresses and they throw them dramatically and they just shift off stage and they give you that dirty, dirty look. Like because they were like, first off,
they give you a mean mug going off stage.
Oh, they do. Like, first off, they know they killed it. But then they're also like, that's just what the show is. Like, it's over. It is over. Like, what you did was clearly not to what Truman wanted, to the best intentions. He didn't want to be trapped inside a false reality. And I mean, so they were kind of mad, like in that aspect. And they were like, yeah, we're going to leave the stage. Like, we did that. It's over. No more Truman Show after this. Another little key point in finals. They have a crew member come out with, I don't know what it's called, the clappy thingy. And they go, all right, this is the Truman Show, blah, 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 da, 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 season finale. And it was like snap. And you're like, okay, thanks for the reminder.
Because in prelims, it was season 20, episode 25. But in finals, it was season finale. And kind of like we've been saying for several groups, it was a tangible representation of what reality was for so many of these performers.
I'm going over the place, but like when I saw like Spain Park having tears in their ballad, I was like, this is just prep. I was like, now they are not a prep group, but you know, it's like we are only on prep and we already have waterworks working and the emotion is just all over. Will, anything else about their show? I feel like I've said a lot, but not everything. So please help me.
You hear a lot about Grenada's show design, and you hear a lot about Brandon as well. But I think more of what you hear about Brandon is kind of that flair that they bring to the stage. And you hear a lot about personalities from Brandon, and that's great. And we're not trying to take that away from them. You hear a lot about shows from Grenada. I mean, even like dating back to before the pandemic, you had the Mona Lisa show, you had the Killer King show. Like you had these shows that even if they were not winning competitions, people knew it as the Mona Lisa show. as in there will never be another one like this again. And I was kind of like, ooh, like Grenada, their ugly show last year was probably like a top 3 sent in meme to our Meme Mondays. I think you're pretty ugly. And, you hear a lot about it, and then you're like, okay, well, this is it. I get to watch the show. And the show design just pierces through your heart in so many different ways that you're like, okay, this is very, very legitimate. And it just lived up to all of my expectations and then some. I became a hardcore encore guy on March 1st. I really want to see Jackson Academy again. I'm now a hashtag V4L guy forever. And also shout out Grenada for having a very easy to pronunciate and easy to understand shout during your final dance break. Because when it's just V4L, like Brandon had one, and I'm so sorry to Brandon Brio, but I entirely lost what the chant was in your closing dance break in both prelims and finals because there were just too many words. Just Brandon, if you're out here, I think you should consider just taking a BOE for your dance break chant next year.
I think that's what it was, unless they added more stuff. I just never read.
Oh, maybe I was trying to read into more stuff.
Maybe they go like BOE da 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 da, or I don't know.
Maybe it was that.
But yeah.
But yes, all of the above. In terms of where Grenada has competed, they previously have an appearance at Glenwood the event, although that was in 2021, so it was a virtual event. It doesn't really count.
Yeah, they beat Troy.
Other than that, I could not find, dating back to when the records get spotty, when Grenada was a middle division group, all of that. So they started going to nationals every other year, every third year around 2017. And they've been to nationals a few times. Obviously, a very sparkling performance at nationals last year. They've not really been to any other big show choir region. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciate, like you said, the fact that they're willing to get up here. And again, here as in the Midwest. They could have gone to Indiana or Iowa or Nebraska or Ohio or Wisconsin. Yeah. Please, more people need to come to Wisconsin. Guaranteed easy win for your group.
Like they picked the Mount Zion Midwest Invitational. They could have went anywhere.
Very blessed that they came up here and for putting their next set on the line. And the other thing, you said that Grenada won People's Choice. The thing is that Grenada also brought their entire staff up. I mean, they listed approximately 4 or 5 directors. I believe they listed Matthew Murphy and Claire Barker, the choreographers, as assistant directors. And they were all up there. They decided to go incredibly all in on this. I know it can't be easy to pull the trigger on something like that, right? Because there's always the chance of like, what if this just goes off the rails? But it didn't. It was great, especially like when the week before at a comp that you registered for late and a comp with an incredibly insane like day schedule for you. You placed 3rd in prelims. You placed 3rd in finals. Head to head with Brandon a week before doing it again. And just so much credit to him. And you got to wonder, I mean, 2018 was their last like no placements at all year. But really, I think going back like 2022 probably was their last. So 2022 canceled event, 4th place, no place, 4th place, no place. That was the last like not absolute powerhouse Grenada year, which means that we're now at 23, 24, 25 of an unstoppable object, an unstoppable force Grenada Visions group. And now the question is not, will they be a big force next year? Because I feel like we moved past that for them as a program. We're done with, we know the shows are going to be cool, but are they going to be good shows? The question is now, what kind of good show will they have next year? And I'm so excited to see what it is.
Yeah, I am so excited. I'm glad that they kind of got this opportunity because now they know what it's like to be up in the north. Hopefully we can see them at a Mountain Zion Midwest Invitational in the years to come. Like, just fantastic job. I mean, they come back, they get the last prelim spot, a little plus, I guess. So especially if they have a walkout like that again. I mean, like we said in the moment, we were like, if they were the last group to go instead of the first group, you would have been like, okay, case closed. Like it's just matters where everyone else goes.
Probably.
because the way they walk off stage is just amazing, and I love shows that do that. They're not the only ones who do that. However, like if you have an Indian that's just different, like yes, everyone loves a good bow, and it does add a lot to your show if you were able to create such a good bow. However, there is just something about walking off stage. Just to tie on a bow. Oh wait, unless you were going to say something.
The only thing I was going to say is you can't just walk off stage. You need to have the right situation and like show design wise, and also an incredibly good show to be able to do that. Because if you do a show design where that doesn't fit, or like you don't bring it vocally or you don't bring it visually, and then you just walk off the stage giving everyone a mean mug, people are going to be like, wow, they think they're a lot.
Yeah.
But Grenada, you're like, yeah, they earned it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just going down the list. Thank you, Grenada. Thank you, Wheaton. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Lovin. Thank you, Neo Show. Thank you, Glenwood. Thank you, Spain Park. Thank you, El Paso, for bringing your middle school. So on and so forth. I probably missed someone in there. Maybe not. But just thank you. As someone who's been going to this invitational for almost 10 years now, it's like this is definitely the best competition I've seen. Congratulations, Grenada, on a staple win like this, and especially to finish your season. The two things that were the highlights of me for the whole invitational. Also, one more thank you, Stream Show Choir. Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say that one.
Yes, I was gonna get there.
Our producers, Dylan and Jacob, have such a long weekend. They troubleshot more than anybody will ever know. I mean, I put them in some bad situations and they dug out of it. So there's a ton of stuff that goes on behind the camera, and we are both so incredibly grateful.
Yes, and I mean the way they set things up from like tear down. I mean, they are all class all throughout. I can't wait to see what they do in the years to come, and even these next 2 competition weeks or so, or 3. I'm very excited to see how they finish their season as well. But the 2 notes I want to take away from this competition that I think some people would like to know, because this is like the in-depth stuff that we kind of do. My top 2 favorite moments. One was I don't know if you noticed this, but right in front of us there was a older gentleman with accompaniment from some people who sat and watched all the finals. He had a walker and he sat in that chair and didn't move for all of
He was a trooper. I did notice that. I think he was there on Friday night as well.
Yeah, and I was like this guy is just loving it. And not to say what his favorite group was, but it's most definitely Brandon. He absolutely, him and another companion, they videotaped the whole Brandon show and finals, the whole single thing. And I was like, they weren't even getting the version with the screens. But in prelims, I watched Brandon, and he was just bopping the whole time. And he couldn't stop smiling. He was talking like almost the whole time, like, there's no way that Brandon's doing this. There's no way Brandon's doing that. Absolutely loved that part. I mean, it's just so cool to see that, especially sticking around for finals that, like, I mean, I don't know if he had anyone in it or he was just like a Mount Zion grandparent, supporting, but like he stayed for all finals. And I mean, that's truly, truly something.
I wanted to go to bed before finals was done.
Yes.
Well, okay, that's a lie. I wanted to see finals through, but I wanted to go to bed before prelim awards or before final awards. I'm like, okay, last choir's gone. All right, wrap it up. We can be done.
So shout out to him and everyone else there who stuck out the whole competition. But the last thing, the thing that I love the most, has to do with the Southern groups, besides Spain Park. Maybe Spain Park was there, but I just didn't recognize them. Brandon and Grenada. So Grenada's on stage celebrating. I mean, very, very much deserved to celebrate. And off stage around us, we had a few Brandon kids waiting for them to get off stage. I'm pretty sure it was Elvis and Elton, the people who played the really big parts.
I believe so, yeah.
Who do phenomenal jobs. They waited around, and so did some other people, and they waited for Grenada to get off stage. In situations you see like this, Brandon, after beating Grenada, could have been like, why is this group following us to Mount Zion? Like 2 groups that are in the same region, same state, like traveling up to a cup like this, it's very rare in some aspect. It happens, But like again, they could have gone almost anywhere, right? And they could have been, a little salty about that. So seeing some of these Brandon members stick behind, watch Grenada celebrate, and wait for the moment to congratulate them. But then better yet, like they even had like a prayer circle, and I just appreciated that. Just because that was just one of the best competition days I've ever seen. So to see it like circle back to like unity, like in the end, we are performers and we are putting on our best shows. We only wish the best for each other. And I mean, a part of my brain was like, it's kind of funny because it was Truman in the prayer circle. It was Elton John. It was Elvis. And I'm like, you are getting some of the biggest stars of the whole day. And that little like 15 seconds really, really just tied the whole day together. And it really put a bow on things. Just fantastic day. I got to talk to some of the judges, and I just want to thank them for coming out because, again, if you have a competition like this, you have to have some of the best judges in the country, and I think we truly did. So shout out to Braxton Carr, Connie Mulligan, Sam Mulligan, Lexi Robson-Bogowitz, and Scott Thorne. And then of course the volunteers of Mount Zion who treated us like kings when we really do appreciate them running back and forth and making sure we were okay, and they put on an amazing event. Best Mount Zion Midwest Invitational in a long time. So great weekend, and I'm very glad that we had the opportunity that we had. And I'm glad you were there with me, Will.
I'm very thankful. I'm with you as well. I was with you. We will be with each other at Wheaton this week. And also, okay. Do we want to talk about Wheaton?
Yes, only because I don't think I'm going to be able to deep dive them into all these groups because there's just so many amazing groups. Yeah. So if we just look at it at face value and just do our thing, I think we can.
Yes. All right. Middle school, really.
All right, predictions. No, I'm kidding.
Also, I will say, like, low key, if you're planning on being at the middle school division, just know where the tornado shelter in school is because the weather looking real dicey on Friday night in Chicagoland.
Yeah, I didn't even know what to put on the weekly this week because there's so much weather everywhere.
I know.
I was just like,
I would have put tornadoes in Enterprise on the weekly this week. Did you post that yet?
It's going to be a plus. Still waiting on a few articles.
We do.
Yes, it's pretty much done. But
anyways, weather aside, the middle school division: Roadshow, Starlights, and Dynamites, Mantino Grandpas, Gross Pop Stars, Troy Tonality, El Paso Dynamics, St. Michael Shine, Mount Zion Sound System.
So the names I just jump off the page right from the get-go. You have Mount Zion, you have El Paso, you have Troy. Even kind of throw Mantino into the mix. I feel like this could be one of those middle school divisions that kind of just like it's a lot of mamble jamble until like maybe like the top 3 spots. However, I think it's going to be tight. I can't put my bias aside. I think Mount Zion has an amazing show. However, they are definitely beatable this year. I need to look at, they have a second place at the Mantino event where I believe they lost to El Paso. Yeah, they lost to El Paso with best vocals and best choreography. So, it'll be kind of cool to see how they respond to that. Mount Zion. And then just looking at Mount Zion at Glenwood, they won with best vocals, best choreography. They beat Roadshow, beat Mantino. So they these choirs have gone up against each other before. I wish I knew more about the middle school division. However, I'm going to just go with the top 3. I think I'm going to go Mount Zion, Sound System, El Paso, then Troy.
Give me.
Yeah, go different, please.
Mount Zion, Troy, St. Michael, El Paso, Mantino, top 5.
Can't argue, Will.
Actually, hold on. I'm going to
Okay.
Mount Zion, Troy, St. Michael, El Paso, Roadshow, top 5.
Okay. I love it, Will.
I will not be there on Friday night, so I cannot be held liable for these.
Yeah, it's like the first Wheaton Warrenville South Friday night I haven't been to in a while. So it'll be. Yes, I want to see these amazing middle school groups. I'm glad I got to see some of them this past weekend. But having that Friday off will be a little bit nice. I can't lie. Single gender division on Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Mount Zion. You've got male,
825 Lafayette Jefferson Expressions, 850 Waubonsee Valley Resonance, 915 Glenwood Titan Flame, 950 Westside Simply Irresistible, 1015 Mount Zion Le Femme.
This is gonna be a really cool battle. I think this is gonna, like, looking at the top two choirs probably is Westside and Mount Zion Le Femme. There is something about them going back to back that is gonna be truly like special. Because I mean, you're gonna be like, okay, let me sit down and let's see if these two groups can battle it out. Not saying that Lafayette Jefferson Expressions or Waubonsee or Glenwood can't make noise here, because they definitely can. However, I'm just like locked into those last few spots. And then of course, I mean, who doesn't love opening up their day with Mount Zion You've Got Mail at 8 a.m. So really gets the blood pumping, as some would say. So
it does.
Yes,
it does.
And I don't know what they're gonna do. They might pull out all the stops. They might bring out chairs and start smacking people with them. It's gonna be a heck of a time. So looking at this, I think the top two are gonna be Mount Zion and Westside. I'm gonna give the nod to Westside. Not because I know anything different. I just think Westside, they're really gonna bring it. I mean, the Doran Johnson effect is really real throughout the whole program, and I feel like every single performer is going to want to bring it for their last competition. I'm going to throw Mount Zion Le Femme in the 2. I think the thing that gives Mount Zion a lot of like hope and backing is that they've gone through some really tough competitions this year. They've seen some very, very strong choirs, but so has Westside. I mean, they're in one of the toughest regions in the whole country. So it's going to be super cool to see those two battle out. I think this 3 spot is going to be very interesting. My initial thought was to give it to Lafayette Jefferson Expressions. However, call me a homer. I'm just going to throw You've Got Mail into that 3rd spot. Why not? If they can bring it vocally throughout the whole show, their choreography is so fun. The showmanship is everything. The presentation, it of course is so much fun. I think that they have a good chance to get top 3 here. Now, will they? We will see. Yeah, those are my initial thoughts on the single clef division.
Yes, all of the above. This 3 spot will be very, very interesting. I will also go Westside and then Mount Zion, and let me do some research on the fly here. It's between 2 groups for me, and it's between a group choreographed by Ellie Jordan and a group choreographed by Dwight Jordan.
Oh no.
or Jeff Jordan, I mean. And in my 3 spot, I'll go Lafayette Jefferson Expressions.
Well, safe to say, I mean, there's no promises, but there's a really good chance Dwight's in the building for this one. Very, very good chance. So.
Yes. So anyways. All right. We might have a disgruntled single gender performer in the chat.
I don't know. I put him top 3. He should be happy.
So. All right.
Actually, no. Give me. You've Got Mail sweep. You know the vibes.
You've Got Mail sweep.
You know the vibes.
You heard it here first. I was saying more disgruntled as towards me. So yeah. Anyways, that and when we look at this thing, tentatively, the single clef division is scheduled to wrap up at 10:40 a.m. And then we launch straight into the mixed choirs. 10:40 Lafayette Jefferson Acapella, 11:05 Troy Buchanan Soundwave, lunch. 12:15 Huntley Harmonics, 12:40 El Paso Gridley Modulations, 1:05 Diamond Bar Marquee, 1:30 Waubonsee Valley Soundcheck, 2:05 Troy Buchanan Express, 2:30 Westside ATSC, 2:55 Lafayette Jefferson First Edition, 3:20 Mount Zion Swing Stations, 4:05 Mitchell Friend Coup, 4:30 Glenwood Titan Fever, 4:55 Wheaton North Flight. That is 2 groups before lunch and an entire stretch of groups after lunch with 1 10-minute break. In terms of national firepower, is this the generational lineup that we had last year? No. But in terms of regional talent, I mean, by golly, you've got the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, the number roughly probably 6, and then like the number like 9 Illinois groups all here. You've got the Illinois state champion, or you've got the Missouri state champion. You've got the Nebraska number 3 group.
Mhm.
You've got a top 10 group from Indiana. You also have Diamond Bar, who you could argue that they are probably like the number 6 or 7 choir in California right now. There is just still an incredible amount going on.
Yes, you are so right, William. And I mean, it's just so my thing looking at this on paper is I'm trying to draw a line, and I can't draw a line. There's no like it's so hard to draw a line in the sand because then once you make 15 other lines, it's the whole beach is garbage. That's not the case with this lineup. I mean, it's not garbage at all. Clearly, if we were talking about it, so we are talking about it. One thing I want to say is it was very nice to see Lafayette Jefferson outside today for rehearsal time,
Oh,
in class or whether, yeah. Shout out, I love hearing a good Mark Myers 8 count here and there, and the kids outside just soaking up the sun while they can before this weather gets a little crazy. So yeah, just a little aspect I want to throw in there. So I'm gonna draw a line, and I mean I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna just name some choirs, and you just go with it, okay?
what do you mean? I just go with it? I
Just
don't
go
like
with
where
it.
this is
We'll ask
going.
questions later.
Okay.
Troy, West Side, Laugh, Mitchell. How many finalists are there?
6.
Gosh darn it! And I'm gonna throw Wheaton North. I think that's where I draw my line. However, after that, like, okay, wait, I never explained my line. So my line is the groups that like I think solely have like the best chance to make finals. Like I'm trying to draw a line like to see where the battle is. Who are the groups that are going to be battling? And the groups that I think that are going to be battling are El Paso, Diamond Bar, Wabanzi now, because I think they took it a huge step up this year. You might have to throw Troy in there. The reason why I didn't have Troy in there before or had them above the line was just because we saw them this last weekend and I thought they were phenomenal. But Troy definitely in that conversation, Mount Zion in that conversation, and then you have Glenwood. I'm just trying to figure out the line. Do you have a line, Will? I didn't know my line was going to go to 6 groups. I originally thought it was going to be like 4. But
so in my locks category,
line locks, yeah. Start with L.
My locks category is a very small category, and that category includes Mitchell and Omaha West Side. That is my entire locks category.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I agree with you.
My next line is what I would handicap
3 through 5 range or so. Yeah.
As what?
They're like the 3 through 5 range, 6 range.
Yeah, as not lock, but probably over 50% chance to make finals.
Yes.
And that is Wheaton North and Lafayette Jefferson. So that's 4.
Yep.
My next line is roughly a 50-50 toss-up in my eyes, whether you make finals or not. And then this is where you get Troy, El Paso, Mount Zion, and also I'm gonna throw Diamond Bar in here.
Yeah,
because I feel like Diamond Bar is just the complete and total X factor because no one outside of the California Big 3, I guess. Okay, Burbank's going out of state this year, so I guess we can still say Big 3. No one outside of the California Big 3 ever gets out of California, and I mean for good reason, right? If you're Hart and you have like 18 performers, is it really,
Yeah.
But Diamond Bar coming out, they are the ultimate X factor. El Paso, Mount Zion, Troy Buchanan. Those are 3 groups that in some form or fashion have matched up against each other this year, whether it be exhibitions or in competition or transitive property. But you at least feel like you have a bit of a read. Maybe you don't after last weekend. Maybe you think, wow, Troy really came out swinging.
Yeah,
they were 3rd place after prelims. El Paso, 3rd place at Quincy, dropped to Naperville North. Mount Zion, like it's going to depend on which Mount Zion shows up. Is it going to be 6th place at El Paso Mount Zion, or is it going to be 2nd place at Glenwood and beating Brownsburg Mount Zion?
Yeah.
Whatever Mount Zion shows up in prelims, I think of the choirs in this group, I think Troy would have the best 50% chance. But I would say that Mount Zion ultimately has the most control over their 50% chance because I think they're the choir with the biggest swings. I think El Paso, generally, just because of the way their season works, I think they probably honestly hit the ceiling of their show right before they hosted on February 22nd. And then they went to Quincy and they got jumped by Naperville North in finals after being tied in prelims, which is fine. And Naperville North is a quality, respected program within the Illinois scene. I mean, I saw their show at Glenwood, or not at Glenwood, at El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to wonder at this late in the season, is there any more upside for Mods to have? And maybe they prove me wrong. But I remember watching them last year at Coral Classic, and that was a 100% show from Mods, which is where you want it to be at the end of the season, right? Mm-hmm. And they obviously in a generational field, they did very, very well. And they were part of the reason that was a generational field because they had a great season last year as well. But I worry about the upside for El Paso, and then Diamond Bar, again, just the X factor, the absolute X factor.
I think, you just touched on a lot of really good things, Will. I mean, a lot of them.
And then the next line for me is the somewhere between 10 and 50% chance of making finals. And this tier for me is Glenwood and Waubonsie. I have not seen a Waubonsie show in a very long time, probably 2017. I did see Glenwood's show this past weekend. Again, like I said 2 hours ago, that's insane. I said that 2 hours ago. Glenwood has moments, but in order to make finals here, Glenwood is going to need to not have moments. Glenwood is going to need to have a show. And sometimes groups can make that happen in a week. That's why I'm saying it's a non-zero chance. It's hard, but I've seen groups do it before. So Glenwood could do it again. Waubonsie, they had a really super spaced out competition schedule this year. 1 in January, 1 in February, 2 in March. They looked good last weekend, but we don't really have a recent composite body of work to go off of for them.
Yeah, it could have been around.
By all accounts, they are a step better than they were last year, but they're going to need to be about 5 or 10 steps better than last year in order to be in the finals conversation. And then kind of rounding, so that is 10 groups. And of course, we only have 6 finalist spots. So rounding out, we have Huntley Harmonics first year group, Troy Buchanan Soundwave prep group, and Lafayette Jefferson Acapella prep group. Great experience for those choirs. A pretty close to zero shot of making finals. I think since it's an overall, I think single gender groups might be eligible. I really don't think that's happening. But that's also what I said in advance of Mount Zion. And
it happened.
so single gender groups, if I say I really don't think it's going to happen, make it happen. So
yep, that's like the whole reason we make predictions is so we could be wrong.
Well, I mean, I try to be okay.
I love being wrong. I mean, a part of me is like, you know what? If people can somehow get fired up by the things I say and make their shows better, all to them. Because I mean, I love that. I love being proved wrong in so many different ways. Shout out Bobby. Loved being proved wrong, Bobby Picker. Loved being proved wrong. He gave us some words at Wheaton. All good things, but gave us some words.
We were lucky the mic wasn't too hot when he gave us those words.
I love that guy. And the fact that we might be able to see him at this amazing competition as well. I think you touched on a lot of really good things. I'm just staring at El Paso, and their season's just so long.
I give them a lot of credit for that. And they were not even supposed to be here. Originally, the Janesville Craig Spotlighters from Wisconsin were supposed to be here. They dropped out. It would have been the latest anyone in Wisconsin would have been competing this year. They just hosted this past weekend. I am, as a Wisconsinite myself, I am actually totally okay with them being here. I think that is a group that experienced a lot of turmoil in the off season and even into the early prep season. They had a new choreographer this year. They had a mid-school year change at director. They struggled. They did not place it all. And that's not me trying to talk down on them. That's just a fact. And I think that if it was going to have to extend your season by a week and you knew that you were not really going to be competitive and it was going to be a bit of a trip and all that, I'm totally fine. And if of all of the groups who could have jumped in,
yeah,
I think either my number one pick would have either been El Paso or Naperville North.
Yeah.
And it was El Paso. I think
agree.
Chesterton would have been a very close 3.
Mm-hmm.
But again, Chesterton just lost to Waubonsee last weekend, so we would have at least had that frame of reference there. El Paso comes in as a pretty big X factor because when you look at their stuff, they've never before last weekend they had either been first or second the whole year.
They haven't dropped choreo.
You're right. I'm just looking at that now. They haven't dropped choreo,
which I did not know. Which is that? What 6? Is that what it is?
Yeah. So this will be comp 7 for them.
I mean, and they've seen groups, man.
So you know that they are going to move well. The question becomes, how well are they going to sing, and is how well they move going to be enough to carry them into the finals round?
Yeah, and I mean, you also have Jeff Guimar judging Heath Guimar choreography in some sense. So.
Are all the judges? I assume all the judges are whole sheet, right?
Yeah, since there's only 1, 2, 3.
There's 5.
5 of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it'd be whole sheet.
No critique here either, right?
Dude, yeah. There's no critique. Yes, there's no critique.
This is my ploy for more Illinois competitions to get critique. Even at my last comp of the year, every year in Wisconsin, always had critique. Always loved it.
We're not taking critiques.
Oh my goodness!
And over if there was a critique, we were like, no, please no. We're not taking critique.
Oh yeah, because you're too good for critique.
No, it was like we know where our show is. Why do we need a critique? This season's over. We're not. Next time I perform in this show is for my mom. So and Jill loves me anyway.
Finals?
There's no finals at Andover.
Oh, well, okay, for your last comp out in New England.
Yeah.
But I'm saying for a comp like this that has finals, and with so many groups that have a legitimate shot at making finals.
I don't think an HOA has critique.
Well, that's why nobody goes to them anymore.
But, I mean, back in the day, like in 2018, that competition didn't have critique.
Well, it's very clear that we're going to come to an impasse on this. Yeah. So we're going to drop
it. Yeah, but I mean, Guimar judging Guimar choreography will be like, it's a fun little twist into things. I just there's another little twist into things. Mark Myers versus Waubonsee. Like,
yes.
Now again, it feels like ages ago. It feels like a whole new world has been here. We went through COVID. We went through so many different things since then, and the world has spun so many times. However, that's another little like fun little tad bit. And to look at it, like Waubonsee and Mark Myers like owned this competition. Like we said it in the group chat the other day, like the Choral Classic is Mark Myers. Mark Myers is the Choral Classic. Like I believe they won it 5 years in a row, and they beat groups such as Clinton, Carmel, John Burroughs, maybe Burbank. I think they went to one. So on and so forth. Like they toppled so many of these like crazy looking lineups, Mark Myers and Waubonsee. So to kind of see them separate, but yet still at the same competition is just, a little cool thing. It'll be, I wish Lafayette Jefferson went to Mount Zion. I know they were originally on the schedule, but like just to see like this, because I mean, I've heard so many amazing things, how far this group has come in year 2 under Mark Myers. Just like we've even had kids be like, if there's one ballad this year that's maybe even close to crying or like make me feel anything, like Lafayette Jefferson does that and then some. So I am very, very excited to see how they perform here in Mark Myers' return to the Choral Classic.
So the legacy of Mark Myers and Waubonsee Valley Soundcheck at the Choral Classic. 2009, win. 2010, win. 2011, win. 2013, win. 2014, win. 2015, win. 2016, win. 2017, win.
What about that next one?
2018?
Yeah.
Glenwood Titan Fever.
Yeah, and Waubonsee didn't make finals.
Oh yeah, that's what you were going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
So I just had to throw that in there because that's just one of those all-time craziest things ever. Like
Yes.
just complete okay. Yeah. Like because that's how crazy this competition gets, man. Once you think you know something, even if you've won this competition year after year after year, there is that chance you don't make finals because that's just kind of that's why you go to comps like this, right? There's a reason why Diamond Bar is going all the way out there. Yes, it might be for Chicago. I know they're probably doing some amazing things in Chicago. Who doesn't love a good Chi-Town trip? But
West
like,
Side maybe doing some things in Chicago as well.
yeah, maybe just a little, a little touch. Go see the Bean. Take your little pictures at the Bean. Get some, I don't know, Illuminati's deep dish, or I don't know if that's too commercialized, or I'm just okay. A Field Museum, stuff like that. Super cool there. The aquarium, Shed's Aquarium, all time. Go down Michigan Avenue, go a little shopping. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason why you want you to end your season at a competition like this, even with it being in a premier location like near Chicago. You want to go up against the best of the best. And I mean, is this the lineup of last year? No, but I mean, it's pretty darn close to being as competitive. Um, yeah, Wabanzi is going to be very interesting to keep your eye on. They've clearly been making some noise throughout the season. Like you said, their season is very like spread out, kind of like El Paso's. Another group that is worth talking about, Mount Zion. Like you said, I think Mount Zion and El Paso are very comparable. In some aspect, the only difference is El Paso has been very, very good in the choreography caption, and they have a win this year, and they're constantly in the top placements. I think Mount Zion has run into a lot of really tough competition, so to say. They were at Chesterton. Troy got the better of them. Was Blue Valley and Urbandale, so on and so forth. They've been to some amazing competitions. However, their last competition, I think they took a huge step up. Like in prelims, you're like, okay, it was kind of the same, and then in finals, you were like, something clicked. Now, the worst part about that is they've had 2 weeks to sit on that click. Part of me is like, let's keep going. You want that season to keep going. However, they did get the performance in front of a crazy packed house at Mount Zion. Just absolute, like, people were in the aisle sitting down, like all time, just amazing auditorium experience during their show. And then I think Troy. So yeah, but like if Mount Zion brings it and they bring that Glenwood Finals, Mount Zion, they have a really good shot at making finals here. Troy, I think they just went. They just had a really good outing against some amazing choirs in the country. Made a lot of noise. Clearly left an impression on the judges, leading them up to a fourth placement in prelims. So clearly they're doing something right. Mitchell, they've won their last 2 competitions, I believe. I believe they beat groups like Sioux City East, Bishop Heelan, big groups like
They
that.
Bishop Lures, I'll tell you that much.
Bishop Lewis. No, but yes, I know they lost to Millard West early in the season. Maybe this is where it gets a little loopy, so I'll just stop talking on that aspect. But again, like where I was going with that is amazing region. They've gone up against a talent. I can probably safely say that they're gonna make finals at this competition, very lightly, because you just never know. I mean, like, never would have saw Mount Zion dropping to Mantino and Wheaton Warrenville South Esprit. I did not seen El Paso Gridley losing to Naperville North. But however, he's still getting the best choreo caption at Quincy last week. So like, I feel like a lot of groups have had their ups and downs at some point this season, whether or not be winning a competition or dropping a placement to a group they didn't think they would be doing to. But that's also a testament to like how great this season has been. I think this season has truly been one of one, and we are witnessing a resurgence in like competitive aspect of show choir. So just we're very blessed to see this. Wheaton North, they already lost to Lafayette Jefferson this year. Granted, it was like their first competition or second. I think it was their second competition. However, like I thought they were walking in as the favorite, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of people are like Wheaton North is going to win this pretty easily, right? Lafayette Jefferson goes in there and just absolutely just takes it from him. Wheaton North did take best vocals and probably band, but I think first edition took choreography. So like it must have been tight regardless. However, like Wheaton North has dropped some. They are coming off their only regional contest of the year besides this, right? Would you say Quincy is their only regional contest?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, because I mean they went up against El Paso, Naperville North. There are some other amazing choirs there from Illinois. This there's just so many back and forth, like you said. Like the transitive property here is crazy. However, if you're making your predictions off transitive property, I hate to say it, it's going to be wrong because I mean, at a competition like this, there's going to be at least one choir that shocks you. We are in March. March Madness is clearly a thing. Selection Sunday will be right after this competition on the day after. So I mean, and I granted, if you are making predictions, I'm gonna tell you there. I'm not saying a 16 seed is gonna be the one. I am not saying that, but somehow an 11 seed always takes a win in the first round, almost always. So it's just trying to figure out who that 11 seed is. Will.
Yes, it is. Do you want to try and figure out who that is? Do you want to do predictions?
I'm gonna first off, before I do anything, I know the community skews all these predictions, but I'm just gonna take a look at the community. The community at 138 participants, Westside was a sweep, Mitchell in second, Flight in third, Lafayette Jefferson first edition in fourth, Mount Zion in fifth, Troy at sixth. So who are they leaving out? They're leaving out Diamond Bar, they're leaving out El Paso, they're leaving out some other amazing choirs that I feel like I'm just talking. No, they said Troy, Glenwood. Yeah. It's just so hard to tell, man. This is the part where I wish we had a show sheet because I would have had it written down. We're also, almost 3 hours into this thing, so why not? I'm gonna go West Side in the 1. I'm only gonna start from the top down because I think it's way more interesting at the bottom. I think West Side is gonna win. I don't know how. I don't know which way it's gonna go. Captions could literally go all over the place. Honestly, a caption could go to a group that doesn't make finals almost. I don't think that's gonna happen. However, it's happened before. Like if El Paso doesn't make finals and they win best choreo and they sweep the choreo caption all the whole year, that's possible. It really is. I'm gonna take Westside in the 1. The Doran Johnson effect on the last competition of the year is so real. It is so real. And I'm not gonna be the one that bets against it. So I'm just gonna roll the dice and just go with it. So I mean that means I have Westside winning both divisions at this competition. In the 2 spot, I almost feels obligated to put Mitchell there because of how well they have been doing this season. They've gone up against some of the best competition in the world in their region. You're constantly just going up against it. Against the Grand, going to a competition like this is no biggie to them. And plus, they have been doing like competitions like these for years. Even being from South Dakota, they always somehow find themselves in competitions where they find themselves in the thick of it, right? They really do. And whether it's them missing finals barely or them winning and making a lot of noise, they have done it all. They have done it all. I think their experience will award them. I'm going to give them the 2 spot. So 3 on down is just a mess. It it really is because it can literally go any which way. I am going to go in my 3 spot. Oh, it's so tough. I am going to go Troy. Now, I said earlier Troy could be on that line. And I do think they're on that line, but I think that line is going to be tight. I really, truly believe that. I think that they are going to build off of what they just did at Mount Zion and just go a different level. I know that gym firsthand, and when that gym gets rocking, it gets rocking, and I can tell you that they are rocking at the end of their show. I feel like them having that, comp last week where they showed that they can finish a show is huge. And I think that will them into finals. A 3rd spot, that might be somewhat of a reach, but Troy is a group that can do that. So I'm going to into the 3.
Troy really needs a 3rd for a 1 through 5.
Oh my goodness.
This year.
It's meant to be. Isn't that a straight? Yeah, I think it's a straight.
Yes. Call hotline.
Yeah, so it is meant to be. Give me Troy in 3rd. Express. Fourth, I'm gonna go Laugh Jeff. Now, I think Laugh Jeff can very easily be in the 2 spot here at this competition, just because of how well they've been doing. They've already competed in Chicagoland this year. Clearly, they have good tech because they wouldn't be going to. There's a reason why they dropped ISMA if they couldn't use their tech, right? There's a reason. They winded up at Naperville instead. So I'm gonna give them the 4. 6 finalists.
Yes.
2 spots left. The 5.
Yes.
The 5. I'm gonna give to Mount Zion. It's gonna be tight anyway. There's no win-win here. It's all lose-lose. So I'm gonna take El Paso. I think their season is just so long, and I think instead of seeing last week's result at Quincy as like, oh, this is when they start to dip, I'm gonna see it as like it was a realization. It was a moment in time where they realized, oh, hey guys, like we have been doing the same thing for so long that we've gotten so used to it. It's just a wake-up call, I think. And I think that wake-up call is going to result in a finals appearance. They are an amazing choir. They don't have a lot of numbers in their school. However, they have so many numbers on stage. They do an amazing job there. I'm going to give them the 5 spot and in the 6 between who? Glenwood. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. I basically just said it. I'm granting El Paso the 6 spot.
I was just gonna let you keep rolling and say whatever you needed to say.
I forgot where my head went. Actually, wait, no, I messed up. I'm gonna switch out El Paso and I'm gonna give it to Wheaton North. Oh wait, no. Wheaton North in the 5, Mount Zion in the 6, El Paso just underneath that, like very, very close.
All right then.
Because I completely forgot about Wheaton North. And the only reason I'm putting Wheaton North in the spot that they are is just because of last weekend. Like they did just beat El Paso. They did. But El Paso did just have choreography from them. However, like also like I don't see a lot of Wheaton North shows at Wheaton. I don't know if that's like I know they'd go before, I mean, clearly, but like it's not every single year they go to Wheaton. So I think they're gonna come here and try to make some noise. Mount Zion and El Paso is gonna be neck and neck. I believe in our Illinois rankings, Mount Zion is 3rd, and then Naperville North, then El Paso. However, like Mount Zion clearly has had their struggles. El Paso clearly is at the point of their season where it's like, guys, we need to like keep it going. Let's kick into another gear. But I mean, I think Heath Guimard choreography can will them into finals as well, and kick out either Mount Zion or honestly Wheaton North. Like it is so possible. It's kind of funny because I feel like Naperville North is just at the center of all chaos all the time. They just are. I like between all these Illinois groups, they're like, we're just chilling here. Like, don't mind us.
Yep. Yep.
Mount Zion getting 6 and losing to a few groups they probably shouldn't have lost to, like or think of lost to. You're like, then there's just Naperville North, like, hey. And then there's Naperville North at Quincy. Hey. Now Naperville North at Glenwood. What did they get? 3rd?
Yep.
Yeah, because it went. Yeah. No, wait, 4th. Because Brownsburg.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But like another amazing competition. But they're in the thick of it always. I don't know how. So shout out Naperville North. Clearly, they're having one of those seasons where they just make a lot of noise and chaos everywhere. That's my prediction. I do not remember it. I don't want you to remember it. I took a lot of time doing it, so it's probably a time waster. So, your time.
Should we just stretch the show out to 3 hours now for the fun of it? only 12 more minutes to do so.
What time is it, Will? 9:25?
9:25.
I'm not saying do it. Like if you get done, you get done.
All right.
If it happens, it happens,
Ethan, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Who is the only group on the lineup here who made finals here last year?
Holy crap. Dude.
I did not expect this to be such a tough question.
No. I see it from the get-go. But like the fact that you are saying that is insane because we just like we're gassing this lineup up. Like, of course, because this lineup should be gassed up. Like it really should be. But it's like Mount Zion didn't make finals last year. I don't know if Wabanzi went last year, but they didn't make finals. El Paso didn't make finals last year. Wheaton North didn't go, but like you get the gist. Like, and now a lot of these groups are getting the opportunity to like, hey, remember last year? That wasn't a very fun feeling, was it? Like, let's try and go get this one. Like those juniors remember it from last year, senior year, their last shows. They want to get it. But yes, to answer your question, Mitchell Frendeku put on one of the all-time shows at Wheaton last year.
Yep, and they will put on another all-time show at Wheaton this year and win their second Choral Classic with best choreography and possibly best band, although I'm not really a band guy, so it seems like they have a pretty good band this year. So we're gonna put Mitchell down in first with choreo and potentially band. We're gonna put Lafayette Jefferson down in second with vocals. We're gonna put Omaha Westside down in third with potentially band. We're going to put Troy Buchanan Express down in fourth. Wheaton North Flight down in fifth. And Mount Zion Swing Stations down in sixth. So you and I actually agree on.
We're pretty similar.
We agree on 5 and 6.
Yeah, look at us.
And yeah.
I don't know, man. I think,
which is not a lot. Agreeing on 5 and 6 is not a lot.
Yes, but I mean, at a competition like this, it might be.
That neither of those groups are going to make finals, and we're going to see El Paso and Glenwood, or El Paso and Wabanzi, or El Paso and Diamond Bar, or Glenwood and Diamond Bar, or
like you said, Diamond Bar is just such a question mark, and they can throw a wrench into this whole thing. You know, it's just we don't know.
I mean, if we look at the comments, we do have a comment from Sunday. It says early predictions for finals, no order. Wheaton North, Mitchell, Lafayette Jefferson, Omaha Westside, Diamond Bar, El Paso. So clearly, some people believe that the hype is real around Diamond Bar.
Yeah. I mean, and who's going to go against Steve Seen? No one.
No one.
Steve Seen is one of the OGs, if you know what I mean. It's going to be so much fun. I mean, and then another prediction, Westside, Mitchell, Lafayette Jefferson, the 3 Wheaton Flight, Troy Express, Wabanzi Valley. Like, that's a lineup that, like, I see, I'm like, that's right. And then I scroll up and I see the groups of that are competing, and I'm like, there needs to be 10 more 4 more finalists. Because, like, it's just
do a Fame National Finals semifinals round with 12 and then do a cut to 6.
Yep, let's do it. No one has the time for that, but let's do it.
Yeah. Hey, I have my lodging for Saturday night. I can be there all night and probably most of the way into Sunday as well.
What's the performance order? I need to look at it. I keep forgetting to look at it. I think
Wheaton, North, Glenwood, Mitchell are your last 3 shows before.
Which is very interesting.
I am a little surprised that Mitchell is your one returning finalist from last year, and they are not immediately before awards.
Yeah,
granted, I don't know what goes into scheduling.
That's what I'm thinking.
It would just seem logical that you're one group who chose to come back, because Center Grove not coming back, Los Al not coming back, Zionsville not coming back, Mitchell coming back, and 2 groups who were not at this event last year go right before awards. But I do think that's it provides a bit of an X factor. So
yeah, I also don't understand this one thing. I mean, maybe that's just me. I don't run a competition. I don't put scheduling together. And if I do, it's like my class schedule. So I mean, it's already a mess. Like 4 classes, 5 classes, whatever it is, it's already a mess. But like looking at a competition schedule, and you're like, let's let the group that's closest to us go last. I mean, like, shouldn't we like be giving maybe Diamond Bar a little more time? Like, now Mitchell, I mean, I think they should be going last year, just because last year, what they did an amazing show. But it's like, but again, maybe because they are traveling from so far, they are already there. So I think that's kind of thinking that goes into it. But it's just kind of funny. It's like, well, Wheaton North Fight is the closest group here, and then they're going at the 4:55 time slot instead of one of these earlier time slots.
And that just is what it is.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts on Coral Classic? Does it go until 3 a.m. again? Scheduled
No,
end
because
time,
there's no time change. I don't.
Scheduled end time is approximately 10:45, if I'm reading this correctly.
I just know it's going to be one of those banners. It's going to be another Coral Classic. That, I mean, honestly, if you go back and you just like are clicking through the Coral Classic lineups from the years past, you're like, it's like the same thing every single year. It's just all excellence across the board. Now, granted, I know no competition wants this. No, like ever. Like I don't want it, but like there's always somehow some controversy here or there. Whether it be scoring or mistakes, but and it happens anywhere, all across the nation. Especially with big groups like competitions like this, like it's something like that's gonna happen, or like something where like I said, that 16 seed's gonna beat that 1 seed. Like it's just one of those competitions where it's like, all right, let's put a few dice in your hand and just start rolling them. Call the hotline, but like you know what I mean. Like no one can truly predict what's gonna happen. Not even people who are gonna be on stage. And I mean, and that's another thing. It's like
I would say least of all the people who are on stage.
Yeah, and it's like the one last thing is like majority of these groups are ending their season. So I mean, the motion on that stage is just gonna be just different. That stage is gonna be loud. It's gonna be electric. It's gonna be heartfelt. It's gonna be everything. And one of my favorite sayings is like going to a national competition is, especially at this competition. I mean, some of them you can't say it for every single one, but it's like every single person who is competing gets to share the stage with every single person like that's competing. Like everyone is going to have the same microphones. Everyone's going to have the same risers for the most part, unless you're bringing your own. Everyone's going to have the same, like be on the same stage, same environment as every single one of these amazing groups that are from across the country, Like if you're a group like Troy Buchanan Soundwave or Lafayette Jefferson a cappella, like even Huntley, they're in their first year, right? Like this is their experience they do not forget. They get to share the stage at one of the biggest competitions with the spotlight of the whole country waiting for the result of, and they get to share the stage with some of the best performers. They are some of the best performers in the country on this day. So very excited. I never have a bad experience at the Classic. I always just enjoy myself, be surrounded by so many amazing people. I think that the volunteers are fantastic. Even like for a gym, I don't know how they do it. I like a competition like this, you're like, oh, auditorium. No, this is in a normal sized gym. They get stuff in and out. They do a fantastic job. And who can hate a Chick-fil-A sandwich? Love a Chick-fil-A sandwich. So, William, any closing thoughts on this amazing competition? I can't wait to go, bearing any crazy weather that might run into my way.
So excited to be there for a second straight year. I mean, like you said, you look back at past Coral Classic lineups, and every year it's like, we gotta go.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going for the second year in a row. So who knows, maybe this is the start of a long trend of me attending the Coral Classic.
Yeah.
But yeah. We're at 3 hours, so I think I just should shut up and go to bed for the night.
If you've stayed this whole time, really do appreciate you. You are truly a different kind of animal, a different breed. We're just two wahoos just talking about show choir. And if you've been in and out, we appreciate that as well. Thank you guys for, being like, oh my goodness, they're still talking about Grenada. That's crazy. So thank you to everyone who's been tuning in. Thank you to everyone who tuned into our live stream. We truly had a blast doing that. Hopefully we do something like that similar in the future. We have so much stuff going on our blog. I can barely keep up. I know this Friday, all these comp previews are going to, when those hit, it's going to be like a whole new blog because it's just how much content comes in. Rankings as always. Show Choir Madness is right around the corner. There's still some finalized saints we need to talk about on that regard, but don't forget about it. And like the end of the season's happening, Will. Like it's almost Show Choir homie season. We are so close. So the fact that we get to finish it, one of the last weeks was a bane, like this competition. You know, it's I'm just so glad we get these competitions. It's gonna be a blast.
Yes. With that being said, have a wonderful Show Choir Saturday, whether you're competing, whether you're watching in person, whether you're watching live streams. Enjoy the most out of your day. And we will see you on Monday for Show Choir Nation. Have a great night.